G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Now if you love today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie and tell me what you think about it down in the comments below. Thank you. Posted by user Soldier of Solitude 00. Titled, I, male 25, found out that my girlfriend, female 30, had a male-female-male threesome. I can't get it out of my head, and I want to end things sooner rather than later because of it. How should I properly go about handling this? My girlfriend and I have been dating for about half a year. We get along great and share a number of things in common. She's my first girlfriend and first sexual partner I've ever had. I've never really put forth much effort into dating because of constant rejection and poor self-esteem. After becoming more self-aware, I decided to start making changes in my life to better myself and my circumstances. I started eating healthier, exercising 6 days a week, and started CBT therapy. I consider myself a much more improved person mentally, socially, physically, and spiritually. However, I recently learned something about my girlfriend's past that has me seriously reconsidering our relationship. I recently discovered that she engaged in an MFM threesome in the past. I know it's foolish to let something of the past mess up the present, but it's really bothering me for some reason. I've always frowned on casual sex, so imaging her with 2 guys is basically the straw that's breaking the camel's back. I'm doing my best not to judge because I know I don't have a right to, but this particular scenario is really putting a strain on my mind. After sitting and thinking about it for a week, I've decided that this relationship is not worth the mental exhaustion I've been dealing with the past few days. I have decided that it's best that we go our separate ways so she can find someone who can fully accept her, and I can find someone I'm 100% comfortable being with. How do I go about handling this the mature, right way, so nobody gets hurt, and what tips and advice do you have so that I don't run into the same situation in the future? I'm eager to hear from you all, and your advice is much needed and appreciated. Thank you, and take care. Fun Nefariousness 724 says, some things are deal breakers. I felt the same way about a boyfriend who admitted to me that he had cheated on a college girlfriend 15 years ago. I hate cheaters, and I just couldn't get past it, so I broke up with him. If you really can't move past it, then you owe it to yourself to end it. Thank you for sharing this. CC33 says, you've already decided to break up with her, so the mature thing to do is to do it ASAP. Stop wasting her time, get in contact with her immediately. Tell her that the two of you aren't compatible and end it. And stop deleting your posts and reposting days later under new accounts. I do not want to lie, but I had a thought similar to that of OP, but I thought about it meticulously. Would I leave someone who loves me for something that cannot change? That question defined me. Not. I don't think she would leave someone for something she can't control. It's her past. She would have some insecurities maybe, but that would be solved over time. She deserves better than this. If you really loved her, you wouldn't judge her for something she can't change. Something she can't change and may not want to change. OP posted this same question on 3 subreddits, and at least one a few days ago before he deleted it. OP has responded on these 3 posts, and said he would be perfectly fine if it were female-male-female, or if she had more male partners. It was the MFM that fed his insecurities that he couldn't get over. After reading OP's responses, I honestly think that OP wouldn't be able to accept any woman that wasn't a virgin. OP has lots of maturing in his future. Alien Goddess 91 says, I would be honest so both of you can move on more quickly. Don't be rude or name call or shame her, just say it's a deal breaker for you. And OP replies, I agree, and I never planned on shaming her or being rude. That's just wrong and unnecessary. Love Alert 911 says, she's my first girlfriend and first sexual partner I've ever had. I believe that is the heart of your problem. There is no mature way to break up with someone over something they did before they even knew you. Ultimately, if she cares for you, She's going to be hurt not only because you dumped her, but because she thought she could be honest with you. Honesty and intimacy go hand in hand. People tend to open up with those they trust. You're probably not going to find too many women at age 30 with the limited sexual experience you have. Whether they've had a threesome or a one-night stand, just about everyone by age 30 has had sex without love or relationship intentions at least once. You may have to pursue a deeply religious girl who is 19/20 or college freshman. Truth be told, a lot of people lose their virginity by the age of 17, and by age 25, they've already gotten 8 years of sexual experiences. Eventually, when you're in your 30s, 40s, or beyond, you will come to realize that there really is no upside to discussing each other's sexual history. To quote Oscar Wilde, "Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future." Most people are happy to benefit from the bedroom lessons their partner picked up in their past, as long as they don't have any STDs. If past sexual experience is a deal breaker for you, ask those key questions early on. You may not want to know what their sexual fantasies are, and that's another can of worms. Best wishes. I'm not sure if the advice of pursuing a teen girl while you're in your 30s is the best idea. I don't think that always goes too well, but the other advice is good. I don't get why this guy cares so much about an MFM threesome. Like, he's cool with an FMF threesome, but not with one other guy? Really weird place to draw a line and being like, that's a deal breaker for me. But everyone's different, and I think it's best that these two just break up. What would you guys do in this situation? I'd like to know down in the comments below. And what do you think of this guy? Update. After a few days have passed, I've decided to do an update on my original post and inform you all of the news. Following much further elaboration and processing on my part, I decided that the relationship was not worth the mental exhaustion that I was going through. I also felt it was best for her to find someone who could fully accept her and her life decisions. I realized that it would be a tough but appropriate decision for the both of us in the long run. I calmly sat her down and explained to her that while I think that she's a great person and amazing partner, this relationship has run its course, and I don't see us working out in the long run. I didn't include the threesome as a deciding factor in the breakup, as I found that irrelevant, as well as an invitation to unwarranted hurt. She was a bit taken aback by my decision, but she later said that she understood that I came forward in telling her this. We are both in the process of moving our belongings out of each other's homes and have agreed to remain friends in the long term. I now understand that I need to be more upfront with things of this nature in order to avoid similar scenarios in the future. Overall, I'm glad that this happened and will use this relationship as a learning experience as I move along in life. I sincerely hope she is able to find someone who can accept her and love her wholeheartedly. I want to take the time to thank those who actually offered sound, constructive advice instead of resorting to name-calling and shaming. It was really appreciated and helpful. I also realize that some of you may think that I'm overreacting or being immature with my decision, and I'm aware of that. Not that I agree, but that you're free to have that opinion. Thank you again for all of your help and wish you all the best moving forward. Tyrannical Stubbs says, "You're fine to leave your relationships as you please, but I think it's silly that you're unwilling to dig into why it's bothered you so much. I'm also curious to know, A, is this the only line you draw, and are there more? And B, what litmus test do you plan on employing in the future to avoid throwing away otherwise fine relationships with investment?" And OP replies, "It's not that I'm unwilling, it's that I know why it bothered me, and I know it's not going to change. As far as your questions are concerned, A, this is pretty much the only line. B, be upfront about this in the beginning to avoid wasting time. Not that being upfront isn't the better thing to do here, but you'll find plenty of women who have had a very lengthy sexual history who still don't want to get into the topic with you, just to play devil's advocate. I, for example, married the only guy I've ever slept with, and if he had started in asking about my sexual history, I'd be uninterested in seeing him any further." Edit. To be clear, I'm not saying asking about sexual history is bad, rather, I'm commenting on the "have you had an MFM threesome" part being an off-putting question to me personally, particularly as a prerequisite to being good enough to date someone. And OP replies, "Well, that's just a risk I'm willing to take." Fartor Refatus says, "It's hard to know whether being more specific about your reasons would have been kind or cruel. You really just had to make a judgment call, and hope you were right. Regardless, it sounds like she took it well, so that's a good sign. It's too bad that it didn't work out, but consider that if you had stayed, the relationship likely would have gone from great to not so great. I did what I felt was best for everyone." And I guess hearing this update, does it change your opinion on this guy at all, and the situation as a whole? Because I'm glad that it ended amicably, and that no fighting occurred and no stupid relationship pettiness happened like we see in a lot of stories. And I guess I got some more respect that he just broke it off at that point. What do you guys think? What would you have done in this situation? I'd love to know in the comments. Our next post is by user Throw RA Significant Other Money 121, titled, "My significant other, 31 female, is well off. She is constantly buying expensive gifts for me, 25 male, even when I ask her not to. For Christmas, she wants to pay off my student loans as her Christmas present. However, we have only been dating for barely a year." Background. I've been dating a girl who let's call Trish for less than a year. We met at a friend's New Year party. I'll be honest, I was not really looking for a long-term relationship at first, as I had just got out of one. However, those thoughts rapidly disappeared. She is gorgeous, smart, and a dork like myself. The fact that she gets genuinely happy to see me means a lot. We have similar hobbies, and both work in tech. She very much has the dominant personality that makes it very hard for me to refuse her, but she isn't abusive or anything like that. There's also a fairly big age gap, but I really like her. Trish is well off. She was one of the first employees at a tech company that ended up being bought out by a larger one. I don't really know how wealthy she is, but I honestly don't care. While she does oftentimes spend a lot of money, several times she has told me money isn't an issue for her. She has also very much told me that she knows what she is doing regarding money. Monday was my birthday. She spent probably somewhere over $1,000 on gifts for me. The thing is, they were all things at one point that I made a comment about or something. She bought me a watch that I vaguely remember looking at back in February. I said it was a nice watch. So there is thought there. I tried to get her to return the stuff, saying this is way too much, but she 100% refused. For her birthday back in July, I made her favorite food, and seemed genuinely happy with this, and specifically forbade me from spending money on her. On the other hand, I am poor. I got a master's in a useless subject, and am currently working as an entry-level software developer. I have a ton of debts, and frankly, my finances were a mess. She knows how much of a mess they were because she sat down with me one day and basically untangled the mess and taught me proper budgeting, investing, etc. Last night we were talking about Christmas and what our plans are. Eventually it came to gifts, where I basically begged her not to spend anything on me forever, and that I cannot get her anything on the same level of what she bought me. She made a big deal and told me she didn't want anything like that, and she wanted her gift to be spending Christmas with me. Trish, on the other hand, said that her gift for me is she is going to pay off all my debts, so I can stop worrying about it. I really thought she was joking, but she's completely serious. Personally, I said sure, because that's pretty awesome. I feel this is insane, and I genuinely don't understand. We have been dating for less than a year. Everyone I have talked to has either said that she's joking or lying, but I know she isn't, which makes me all the more confused. I am looking for advice. I really just don't know how to respond or handle this type of thing at all. I do genuinely really love spending time with her, And if she never paid a cent, she is still easily the best person I have ever dated. Can someone help me, please? X Fallen X Lost X says, this is a difficult situation. So let's try to untangle all the threads. 1. How much debt do you have? Don't need to specify a number. Just say something like between $10,000 and $15,000. 2. Do you believe she can afford this gift? 3. Are you comfortable with this gift? 4. What do you think it will mean? And 5. What are your top 3 concerns? And OP replies here. 1. Around $50,000, most of it being student loans. 2. I believe she can, as she knows exactly how much debt I have. 3. I don't really know. If it came from a family member or anyone else, I would accept it without issue. I guess to me, I'm worried it will be something that will hang over our relationship forever. But at the same time, I've never seen her really be malicious towards me in any way. 4. She said it would make her happy if I would stop worrying about pinching every single penny. I really don't know. And 5. 1. This is going to be held over my head for our entire relationship. I will always feel guilty about this. 2. There's something else going on for why she's doing these things. And 3. I'm worried that if I accept the gift, she will eventually feel regretful about it, as I like her. Great answers. Now ask yourself how you would feel if you turned it down. What would be the effect for you? What would be the effect for her? Maybe you can take these questions, or some of them, and talk to her about them. Let her know what all of your concerns are. They are absolutely reasonable. $50,000 is a pretty sizable amount for anyone to just pay off. Throwaway 0891245 says, look, accept this money if you can see yourself with this woman for the long haul. Don't do it if you can't. Because if you can't see a future together, it can change the way you see the relationship and make you build up resentment. This woman is in love with you, and in my opinion, the way you write makes it sound like you're in love with her too. If so, congratulations. Not because of the money, because money comes and goes and only pops up in your mind when you don't have enough of it, but because you've found love, which is much harder to find and makes you feel great in the best of times and better in the worst of times. Mild-mannered Bear Jew says, I don't have much advice for you, but one thing to consider is that she might be very wealthy, depending on her equity. For a normal person with some savings, $50,000 is a lot of money. For someone with $2 million in liquid stock assets, it's about 7 months of investment returns. My point being, it may seem like a crazy gift for you, but for her, it's just like buying you a MacBook Air. Hard to imagine yourself in her place, but if she was an early stock option holding employee at an acquired company, she may be a millionaire several times over. If you had that much money, it wouldn't be that much of a stretch for you to knock out someone's debt to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. This is likely no hardship for her. That said, for a lot of people who like their relationships to be balanced, it sucks to be on the receiving end of such unbalanced gift giving. It really puts the pressure on you. But she wants to do things for you to essentially buy you peace of mind, which is an amazing gift. You should let her do this and respect her sincere desire to do this for you. Yes, it will be a challenge to come up with a good gift on your side, but just remember, expensive does not equate to thoughtful. You can buy or make her a thoughtful gift or experience. So I guess I throw the question to you guys listening now. What would you guys do in the same situation here? Would you accept the gift from her? Would you say to wait another year? Would you say, I don't know, pay half of it off? For me personally, I'd probably ask to take another year on the relationship and then consider my options with her there, because I myself don't think I could accept $50,000 from someone to pay off my debts. I kind of feel like it's my obligation to do so, but if I was in the same situation, I would pay off my partner's debts because I feel like that would be a nice thing to do. This is a tricky one for me. I don't think I've ever been presented with a situation like that before. Let me know your thoughts. And now we're going to read the update. So, after reading all the advice I got from you guys, I agreed to let her pay off my student loans. I've also kind of just given in and agreed that I have no say on how she spends her money on me. However, I explained that I will never be anywhere near as successful as her, so I can never really reciprocate gifts on her level. She was completely fine with this. I also agreed that come February, I'm going to move in with her, since she's asked me a fair number of times about this. So I jokingly said that could be her Christmas present, and she got extremely happy. I will be honest, I still feel somewhat uncomfortable and uncertain about everything. I still feel that there must be some sort of catch or something. I met her friends, and apparently her last 2 relationships all fell apart within a year, and it apparently came down to her somewhat forceful and dominant personality. Personally, I like that part of her, so it doesn't bother me. Anyways, thanks guys. I think I made the right choice. I'll see where this goes. Nico Theus says, "Hi there. I never had a wealthy significant other, but I grew up poor in a rich town. My friends all had the best of everything, and when we hung out they'd say, 'Hey, let's get food or go to a movie.' When I said I had no money, they'd say, 'Just get it from your mother.' I was eventually able to get them to understand that my mother didn't have money either. That was when my friends started offering to pay. 'I can't pay you back,' I protested. Finally, one of them said, 'Dude, I have $20 in my wallet. If I spend it, my mother will give me more. It doesn't matter if I spend it on me or on you and me. We might as well enjoy it.' I didn't read your last post, but I'm glad that you're letting your significant other pay off your loans. It sounds like a heartfelt gift from someone who loves you very much. I wish you all the luck in the world with your relationship." Thanks for posting this. I was the scholarship kid at the fanciest private school in a major city. I never made friends like that there. I'm glad to hear someone did. Made my heart melt a little. Doodledogs 1878 says, "I'm going to go against the grain here. I understand your worries and concerns. I think they are as valid. Oftentimes when people do something like this, we worry they will hold it against us, that they will make us feel indebted to them forever. If you're worried about this, then you need to be forthcoming and tell her. I would personally look out for red flags and warning signs, especially in moments when she gets angry. You all have only been dating for a year, so I would assume nothing major has happened. However, as time goes on, you will all get to know each other better, and that means eventually you will see her mad. If she was ever going to hold all of these expensive gifts over your head, I would assume that's when it would happen. So if she gets mad or tries to control you by telling you, 'Look at all these things I've done for you and bought for you,' I would take notes and take action. If she does that, you'll need to stop accepting gifts from her going forward. Plus, you'll need to remind her that gifts are gifts and not blackmail. If you say you were doing something out of love, then there should be no issues. Give and expect nothing in return, as they say. If worse comes to worse, you'll have to end the relationship over it. Also, I am slightly worried about the controlling personality aspect. You said you like that part of her personality, yet earlier you mentioned how uncomfortable she's making you feel by giving you all these expensive gifts. It should be noted that her trying to debate these gifts and not taking no for an answer is controlling. Also, her friend says that it has ruined her relationships in the past. Well, I'd be concerned about that because, based on what you've said, her personality hasn't changed. As I said, every time she won't take no for an answer and tries to debate her gifts, it shows she still has a controlling personality in that aspect. With all of that being said, as of the moment, I don't see anything wrong here. However, I get your concerns and I think they are valid. I think you should voice your concerns. At this point, I think only time will tell if these expensive gifts will become a problem or not. Big Futurology replies, "Totally agree. She seems really smart and generous, but things are moving very fast. It's as if OP feels obligated to move in with her because it's the biggest gift he can give. 50k is a lot of money to gift someone so early. It may not be a problem for her, but if OP feels discomfort, he's probably going to feel indebted for a long time. Relationships with big power discrepancies are never really healthy. Honestly, I think that OP should move in and live with her for a while before he accepts the money. If things get hairy, he can leave. But if he has accepted so much money from her, he won't feel like he can. And OP replies to the first one saying, "I will be honest, I've been looking for red flags and warning signs. Here is the thing. I don't really think it is truly financial abuse. I am not dependent on her income. While my salary is nothing compared to hers, I can still get by fine without too much worries or issues. I do agree, however, my biggest concern was her holding the gifts over me. However, for a different reason. I really like her, and I would still be with her even if she wasn't rich or love-bombing me, and I want her to understand that. However, if she treats me terribly or is abusive and tries to leverage the gifts as a reason to stay with her, I am just going to walk away." I really liked this episode today, and I guess I would do the exact same thing as OP in this situation. It's hard to be in a relationship with a power dynamic of that variety, and I wouldn't want to be trapped or feeling like I am trapped because of that. I feel like situations like this are enough to give anyone pause, and I would love to know what you guys thought of this situation here, and what would you do in the situation, given that it's seemingly gone swell, and I feel like, the power dynamic is going well in this relationship. Let me know down in the comments, I would love to hear from you. Our first post is by user Proud Function, titled, "I asked a girl out to lunch this weekend, and she told me she's working all weekend, or she would have said yes. Should I think of this as a rejection? For reference, I'm 22 male, and she is 22 female. So I asked a girl that I've been messaging for a few weeks if she wants to grab lunch or something this weekend, because I have a couple days off, and she said that she's actually working this whole weekend, but that she would have said yes if she wasn't. I told her not to worry about it, and that if she ends up finding herself with some free time, that the offer is there. She hasn't opened that message, but did send me a couple of memes on something else after I asked her, so she's clearly still interested in talking to me. So basically, should I take this as a rejection? I know she said she would have come if she wasn't so busy, but I obviously know that busy can very often just politely mean no thank you. I have no reason to think she's lying about having work, but I feel like she would have told me when she's free straight from the get-go if she really was interested in doing something." And in the comments, your kid Casper says, "I've used that excuse when I don't want to go, but want to spare the person's feelings without jeopardizing our friendship. If they ask again, then I will be upfront." If she wanted to go, her answer would have been along the lines of, "I'm working all this weekend, but I'm free this day." She may be talking to you because you simply feel a need of providing attention without commitment to exploring further. I would ask again in another week or two. If she says it again, stop talking to her. She doesn't feel the same way. See, other people in the thread have been saying that she probably is actually busy, but your post was my thought too. If I was genuinely interested, I would have suggested another time too. I think she does enjoy talking to me, hence potentially letting me down really gently. But sometimes I just wish people felt free to be brutally honest in these situations. Might sting a little more in the moment, but I wouldn't be second-guessing things. I get girls have to do that in case the guy goes into psycho mode though. Anyway, I think I'll try asking again after the weekend's over with, and see where it goes from there. I always say that ambivalence is not a desirable trait in a potential partner. You want to dedicate your time and energy to someone who is consistent and clear about how they feel about you. Hopefully she really was just busy, but if not, at least you're self-aware enough to realize that you shouldn't waste time with it. A lot of people never figure this out and spend an entire relationship chasing after people. Lol? Ha! The reason I'm so self-aware of this now is because I've been that guy in the past. You learn from your mistakes though. I'm willing to definitely give things a chance because I think she's great, but I'm not going to waste loads of time if she's not on board either. Stormlight Archive says, try scheduling a different time. If it's still no, then maybe she doesn't want to go out with you. And OP replies, I don't want to seem like I'm desperate and pressuring her. So if she doesn't hit me back with the time she's free, I think I'll perhaps leave it until after this weekend and ask again after that. It might be a rejection, but it might not. Next time you're in a similar situation, don't end with, well, the offer's there, so let me know. Instead, continue with, okay, what day do you have free next week? Or similar. Get the girl to either reject you more obviously or make a date. And on to the update. OP says, so basically, after having told me she had work all weekend, she put up a couple of Snapchat stories of her grabbing coffee and shopping in the city that I'm in. She was in the next city over for work and college. So basically, she was actually free this weekend and didn't have work, and had the time to actually travel to where we could have met up. Time-wise, it's basically impossible for her to have travelled over and got that crap done and be able to go back for work. So yeah, that stings a little. I think every girl I've ever asked out has done a similar kind of rejection, but this time we really have loads in common, and I just kind of thought that I had a chance. We're still talking, but I kinda just want to back off now that I know that it was a rejection. I'm obviously not going to say anything to her about it, cause I'm not crazy, and you can't force someone to like you. But it feels bad, man. And Fragrant Spray in the comments says, if she said she had to work all weekend, and didn't propose some sort of alternative time or date, then you got the brush off. Accept it and move on. Yep. Think of it like this. A girl you're into asks you out and you're busy that day. Are you just gonna say, no, I'm busy? Yeah, that's exactly what I thought at first. But it's a crazy time of year, and I thought maybe she just didn't know when she'd be free. Pretty clear what the real deal is now, though. If she didn't try to figure out how to make it work, she didn't care enough about the date to bother. She could have at least offered to follow up when she knew her schedule. And she didn't. Don't try to read more into it than that. It was a brush off, and if she actually was interested, she'll come back and ask you. Nah, trust me, I've been in this situation one too many times where it's lasted for months on end, because I read too much into friendliness. I'm done doing that. All I can do is accept it and move on. Sad, because at one point we both seemed really excited to find someone else who has like the exact same interests. But it is what it is, man. TV Ishasha says, girl here. For men who asked me out and I was into, I always made sure to offer an alternative date and time to go out. Sometimes it does get busy at work, and I might have ended up cancelling a first date, but I've always shown remorse for things not working out as expected, offered another set of dates, and followed up with them. This one felt like a rejection. If, let's assume, she were indeed busy that weekend, you don't want to go out with someone who doesn't have the etiquette to follow up with another set of dates to show that they respect you for approaching them, plus both of your schedules. So what did you guys think of this post? Has this happened to you in the past before? Or have you been someone in the girl's situation of this post and you've been the one that's kind of flaky on someone? I'd love to know your experiences down in the comments. It's always interesting seeing it from both perspectives. Anyway, our next post is by user ThrowRA Hot Water, titled, My 25 female, boyfriend, 29 male, never compliments me, like, ever. Some background. We've been together about 3 months, and it's great. He's kind and happy and a pleasure to be around. Honestly, he's the best relationship I've ever had, but he never ever compliments me. Over a 2-week period, I began to really observe it, and he only told me I looked good once while we were together all day every day then. This week, no compliments. So, one compliment over a total of 3 weeks, and never, "I like you," or "I'm happy to be with you lately." He used to say these things in the very beginning, and I compliment him multiple times per day, just naturally because I feel like he's so great, pretty, etc. I make an effort to vary the subjects of my compliments too, and point out all the positive things about him. I guess that's another difference. I've been doing lots of therapy and am very intentional in this relationship, and he seems to maintain an even keel at all times, but not really overthink things. We never fight. We're really good together, and I'm not unattractive, but I tend to be insecure, and I really need to hear these things. I know it's partially my own neurosis, because he acts like he wants to be around me, talk to me, etc. But is it normal that I need to hear these things? And how do I ask him? Down in the comments, Acid Factory 420 says, "Have you ever, told him this?" And OP replies, "I guess I'm asking how." Well, say, "Hey honey, I am insecure and I like to hear compliments and stuff." And Irritating Millennial says, "It sounds like you answered your own question here. This is all in your own head. If he acts like he wants to be around you, there isn't much to worry about. I would maybe sit down with him and tell him how you feel. Good relationships are built on open dialogue and communication. Just tell him I really appreciate affirmation from you. My love language is compliments. If he can't give that to you, find someone else or go to therapy to resolve your need for confirmation." And now on to the update. Well, he had complimented me in the beginning of the relationship, but not at the point when I made this post. It turns out that he had mentally checked out and did not know how to communicate that to me. He is super avoidant and passive, also probably codependent because he just didn't want to make me sad. We broke up around Halloween. It feels absolutely awful to look back on the moments and realize how one-sided they were. I feel lied to, gaslit, and a little betrayed. I tried to broach the subject with him a good handful of times, and he would deny or say he just wasn't that way, etc. Anyway, I want to point out the line in my original post. I know it's just my own neurosis. No. Going weeks without a word of affirmation from your partner is not normal, and wanting affirmation does not make you neurotic. This is why I say, I was gaslit into thinking I was the one with the problem. Trust your gut. Now, down in the comments, Yara Yara quotes, "Trust your gut." The gut is wise and sees things that the heart and mind refuse to acknowledge. May your next relationship be a happy, healthy, and loving one, and don't put up with that sort of crap again. Sparks19 says, "I was in the same situation as you a few months ago. Questioned it over and over, and they broke up with me since they lost interest. I knew something was wrong." Bexalim says, "My partner is like this with affection, and it's all turning south. I feel like your update is so relevant to my current situation, and he tells me I'm needy when asking for more. I'm glad you got out, smiley face. I need the strength to do the same." If you still love him, ask him if he's still in love with you, and if not, that's okay. It hurts, but it's okay. But he should be honest with you if that's the case. Because you don't want to waste each other's time when you could be happier without each other. If you still love him, I think you want the best for him, even if that means he's not with you. Better to have an honest and open talk about it and make a plan. Better to part ways as friends instead of having a very angry and nasty breakup because you both resent each other for being needy and giving too little and wasting time and energy on something that's not going to work. Maybe there is something completely different going on, but he'll probably tell you if you're open to talk about it too. Thank you for this. I love him, but he's very defensive and not so open to communication. When he does, he says similar things such as, "That's not how it is. I know what needs to happen, I'm just sad about it all." And NomNom91 says, "Wow, I had a partner like this. He would never compliment me on anything. It's not that he can't compliment, He would compliment other girls all the time, and it made me feel like crap. After several fights over this, he started to give some compliments, but it felt so forced that it meant nothing to me. The whole experience crushed my confidence to zero. I'm still recovering from that relationship. I was legitimately in this same predicament. He was always commenting on other women's looks while I sat around wondering if he even wanted to be with me. I recently ended the relationship after many conversations about this. Definitely a confidence blow. And Klutzy Magician 3 says, I would be a little mad honestly. You asked him how he felt and he didn't communicate with you. He also led you on because he didn't want to be the bad guy, but he was one anyway. It sucks, but at least you don't have to feel unloved with your partner anymore, and you know what to look out for now. And OP replies, thank you. It's hard to be mad because, really, it wasn't malicious on his part, but it was self-serving of him. Even if he can't see that. He got to avoid the confrontation, and I finally forced the conversation, and we ended things mostly amicably, but yeah. He says I would have resented him either way, so what's the point? He did this at the end of his last relationship, and I have a feeling he will continue this behavior moving forward. I like your attitude. Why waste your anger on someone when you understand his issues better than he does? He did the best he could, honestly. He just does not possess the emotional tools needed for a serious and intimate relationship. I still think F you sometimes though. I'm not a saint, but mostly I forgive him. So what do you guys think of this one then? Have you been in situations similar to OP here? I kind of see bits of myself there, I guess, in these stories. And I totally see where OP is coming from there with the some people just don't possess the emotional tools needed for serious and intimate relationships. I can definitely see examples where people don't actually have those skills. And like the guy in this story, I think he refuses to acknowledge that he can't handle it right now and he may never be able to handle it. Or maybe he just hasn't found the right person to be serious and intimate with. But that's just life sometimes, I guess. Not everyone works out that way, and it's both unfortunate and fortunate at the same time, depending on how you look at it, I guess. There's my brain just spouting nonsense. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's move on to the last post. And our last post is by user ThrowRA13013, titled, My 26 male, girlfriend, 24 female, is acting weird and hiding things from me. Hello? Obligatory English isn't my first language and I'm on mobile. Sorry. My girlfriend's 24 female and I, 26 male, have lived together for some months now. After the first lockdown, we decided we didn't want to spend so many months apart anymore, and we knew a new lockdown was on its way, so we began living together. Perfect idea, as we are now on lockdown again. Also, we've been together for nearly 4 years now. Everything's going very smoothly. We're best friends and living together is a real pleasure. But some things are weird. She sometimes seems very fishy. Like some days ago, she looked guilty of something. Went to the kitchen, passed by the living room to go to our room, and I saw she was hiding something behind her back. I jokingly asked what it was, and she said nothing. I began laughing and asked again, but she got angry and ran to our room to lock herself in. I saw what she had in her hands was a fork. Just a fork, a simple fork. Can't be mistaken. She did this twice this month. The first time I bumped into her, and she was hiding 2 spoons behind her back, then she ran away to our room. I asked her after this happened, why does she hide those things? And she said it's none of my business. Every couple has their secrets. I accepted it, but why spoons and forks? Also, I can see her sometimes doing the same thing, but from our room to the kitchen, simply taking those things back to their place. I never see those in our room though. Pale Green Ghost says, as someone with disordered eating, this seems like some type of eating disorder. I've done this in the past when I was living with my parents. I would take food and silverware from the kitchen and hide it behind my back or up my sleeves. A lot of times I would buy food after work. I worked late shifts, so when I got home, everyone was already asleep, and eat it in my room, and then hide the trash until the next day when I could dispose of it while home alone, instead of throwing it in the bin in the kitchen where anyone could see. Please, please sit down with her and have a gentle yet firm talk. Reassure her that you're not mad, you're not upset, you're not going to break up with her for whatever it is, that you are worried about her, and she has no reason to be embarrassed in front of you, that you just want to help her. Please try to talk to her. My mum didn't know what I was doing, much less the extent of it, until she went digging in my room for something and found my stash. Edit, this is an addictive behavior. Even if it's not drugs, even if it's neither an eating disorder or drugs, she seems like she has a problem and needs help. User Amuse says, I have no idea what she could be doing. My guess is some kind of OCD or hoarding mental health issue. Or she could have a secret stash of food in the room that she's secret eating or eating disorder. And OP replies, none of this sounds like her, but it's the first time I've actually lived with her, and maybe I missed some things. I really am confused, to be honest. They reply, a lot of people have OCD and hoarding issues that are not severe, and it's not a big deal. Also, just thought maybe she has some weird beauty regime with lotions and potions that she's using them for. I should probably be a little more careful about what she does, to try and find anything that could help me understand her behavior. Thank you for your input. And Significant Peach 49 replies, according to my wife, it is quite possible she's using them to make some kind of beauty treatment she doesn't want you to know about. But I would suggest saying to her, okay, I know you're taking forks and spoons to our bedroom and back, and it's making me really worried about you. So could you please talk about it, even if it's embarrassing to you? Irish Thick says, 1. Can't help but to immediately assume drug use with the spoons. I know you mentioned forks too, but... B. Sorry, but that's not one of those every couple has secrets. It's effing weird, and I wouldn't help but to get to the bottom of it. And OP replies, yeah, extremely weird, but I have no way apart from extreme ones, putting cameras in our rooms, for example, to know what she is hiding. Also, I really don't think it's drugs. In the 5 years I've known her, and the 3 years we've been together, I have never seen her take anything, not even smoking. And she seems perfectly fine when she comes out of the room, but I know nothing about drugs at all. Irish Thick replies, first and foremost, addicts are the best at manipulation and hiding their addiction. I'm not saying all addicts are bad people, it's just how they work. And I would just be honest with her. Tell her it's really starting to concern you on why she won't be honest with you. Let her know she can trust you, that it's okay to be vulnerable, but this is not normal behavior and you need to know what's going on. And OP replies, she usually is a good communicator unless it's something embarrassing. When I ask, she usually answers. The only time she dodges a discussion the way she is dodging this one is when she's embarrassed about something she did. Like when she peed herself in the beginning of our relationship. She didn't want to tell me why she went home in the middle of our date. She told me years after, when the embarrassment wore off, and she could laugh about it. If she actually finds this thread, she'll kill me. She knows she can tell me anything now. After so many years together, not much can be hidden anyway, but she absolutely refuses to tell me anything about those forks and spoons. And now on to the update. Not many people saw my original post, but for those of you who did see it and wanted an update on it, here it is, and oh boy, what an update. After posting, I was scared. Was my girlfriend doing drugs behind my back? Did she have an eating disorder? Should I try to press for more answers? Should I put down a camera? Should I take her by surprise and enter the room when she's in there alone? I decided to sit her down and talk. We communicate well, never argue in doing so usually, but this time, even if I was the sweetest I've ever been, she got angry, really angry, and said, "Stop asking about it. No is no. You won't get an answer about it. She got cold after that for days and didn't even talk to me anymore. Reddit scared me with the drugs and eating disorder comments, so I decided to put a camera in our room. I quickly saw what she was doing with them, and it confused me even more. She just put them in a plastic bag. She put in a backpack of hers that she proceeded to put in our dresser. After seeing that, I looked for the backpack in our dresser, and there it was. Cutlery, a pan, and a plate. I was even more confused. More questions than answers at that point. So I sat her down again. I took the backpack and opened it in front of her and asked again. She got angry, really angry. Then she cried. Then she went away for a walk. She sent me a message 2 hours later to tell me she was at her sister's and would come back when she felt ready. She came back 2 days later because she had to work and had no other choice anyway. Then it was her time to sit me down and finally tell me what was up. She was fidgeting and nearly crying, but also laughing, and she said, "I know it's stupid, but I just hate washing the dishes." I asked her what she meant, and she says, "I'm sorry for the way that I acted about it all, but I was embarrassed to tell you the truth. I hate washing the dishes, and when it's my turn to do so, I take some of the dishes away, hide them, and when it's your turn to wash the dishes, I put them back so I have less to wash." It made sense. Our rule is, whoever cooks doesn't have to do the dishes. I always thought since she cooks fancy meals, that's why I always had to wash so many dishes. At that point, I just laughed because what the hell? But it was also incredibly funny somehow. I decided to tell her about the camera. She was offended at first, and then laughed it off. She said she deserved it, and would probably have done the same. I showed her the first post, and she apologized for letting me worry so much for so little. All is well that ends well. It's a nice story, to be honest. No grudge, just a funny story to tell people in some years. For now, she's still way too embarrassed about it, as expected. From now on, I will always wash the dishes and she will take care of the laundry. Edit. Just editing because people are blowing it out of proportion. I won't dump her over this. It's not as bad as you believe. It's just a childish thing. I caught her hiding once, and she thought it was too late to go back, and she went with it until I found out that what she was doing. She got angry because she was embarrassed, and she's an anxious person. Some things are hard for her. It just happens. It's 0.1% of who she actually is. I don't see things through rose-colored glasses. I am very down to earth and see things as they are. A mistake. Yes, it made me do more dishes, but what is one more plate and spoon? Also, we used to alternate. One day was me, one day was her. She never actually put dishes for long in the backpack, and it was also in a plastic bag and then in the backpack, as you would take your lunch for work. She's a human, not a simple post on Reddit. And in the comments, MindTaker replies, "You have to admit, this is insane. I'm glad you figured it out and got it put behind you. However, if you did communicate well, this wouldn't have happened, so remove those rose-colored glasses and put some pandemic work into communicating. People who can communicate well don't have this happen. Not fighting doesn't mean good communicating. People who can communicate have fights too. Good communicating means when one partner is embarrassed or caught doing something that needs explanation, that both of them are capable of sitting down and having that awkward conversation. That's when you get to say that you're good at communicating. I don't like washing dishes is about a 2 out of 10 at most on the scale of difficult conversations you're going to have in a relationship. She blows up, leaves, gets mad, and has to be videotaped to handle a 2 out of 10. So don't ignore it. Work on it. All of this dump her stuff is nuts. Reddit is nuts. But don't pretend you're in a relationship you are not in, or you will miss the opportunity to put in the work and fix this so you can handle the next hurdle better. Because I am not joking that this was a 2 out of 10 on the weird, uncomfortable crap scale in long-term relationships. Try to get to where you're confident that you can do a 6 out of 10 by the end of the pandemic and keep on going. Good luck, and don't prank her about it. It's not cute or a thing that should become a joke. It's a problem that needs a solution that will ensure the next time no one has to disappear for days at a time because they don't like to clean the toilets and aren't comfortable saying it to their partner of 4 years. And OP replies, "Thank you. I realize there is a problem with what she did. It is funny, to be honest, like what the hell? But I need to have a serious discussion about other aspects." And Arkamil replies, "Is it really funny? Think about all the actions she took. She better fix that immediately, or she has bigger issues than you think." It's a new one, that's for sure. Funny from the outside looking in, for sure. Like something out of a medium-level sitcom. And Pinkasaur says, "I agree with this comment. Ignore the dump her comments. Work on this with her. Figure out why she hates it to that extent. Maybe meet in the middle and get some dishwashing gloves and use the dishwasher more frequently. Also, talk to her about the way she approached this. Yes, it's funny, but it won't be funny the second time. Will she go to these extremes again to avoid another confrontation? This isn't a deal breaker, but the way she handled it can be concerning and needs to be talked about." And DoodleDogs1878 says, "Your girlfriend threw a fit and acted angry all because she didn't want to do her chores. She was combative and shut you down, just so she wouldn't get caught and be forced to do her share of the work. Dude, you had to buy a camera just for this. The fact that you can't see the problem here is insane. Advice? You better stockpile some more cameras because you'll need them again. She will never own up to her own faults. She'll always try to make you feel guilty over nothing. You'll always have to catch her in the act." And Sigourney Reaver says, "Dump this moron. God. This is as bad as an adult who pees in bottles because he can't walk 10 feet to the toilet." And OP replies, "Life doesn't work that way. It's her first mistake in years. It's funny, not actually that deep. Just laugh and move on." And Senarosa replies, "It's not all about the hiding of dirty dishes people here are pointing and worried about. It's her reaction, her response to your suspicions. She got angry and even tried to guilt trip you into dropping the subject. She wouldn't have said anything if you hadn't caught her on 4K. That's a big red flag. Is she seeing a therapist?" And there was no replies after that from OP. I think they were caught red-handed. Posted by user Angela Flies. Titled, "Security guard at work costs me my girlfriend." So I, 24, work at Walmart. Have been for the past 4 years. I do register and stock shelves, the usual. Around the end of my 3rd year, we hired more security guards to help around Black Friday, because some quit right before it, so we were short-handed. Nothing unusual. As I'm considering leaving the job in early March for a better paying opportunity that I've been eyeing for a while, there's a girl at this job who I've known for a while, and we finally decided to go out a few times around November. We hung out pretty often, and she, 22, was aware of my plans to leave, and was excited for my promotion. Some people at work saw us leave together, and probably had assumptions, and we only talked to a few people there, and only a handful of them would we call friends. Only she knew about the other job opportunity, and as I kept my eye on it, it looked promising, as my resume was advancing through certain stages very gradually. But that's when the trouble started. One of the security guards who came around Black Friday of last year was very politically active May of this year with everything that was happening. I talked to a lot of people casually about various things while stocking. Some of the security guards too, as they made their rounds about video games and stuff like that. Never politics. Personally, I don't talk about politics at work, and if people ask me, I tell them the same thing. However, as some of the people I know were talking about it at work, I minded my own business and just did my job. Not because I don't care, but because I, personally, prefer to just go to work. However, one day, in late December of 2020, A security guard who we'll call Tom was making the rounds and asked to talk to me about something. We talked about games before, so I was used to talking to him. And so was she and a few of my friends. He proceeded to ask me why I seemed intent on avoiding conversations or leaving whenever people started talking about the political movements going on. To which I told him what I stated earlier before, my policy for not talking about politics at work. I don't know what prompted him to ask me about that then, in December. But he and a few others usually talk politics at work, so it was a pretty constant thing that I avoided, for context. I told him that I respect him for voicing his opinion, and welcome anyone else who does, and that I might listen occasionally, but refrain from talking about it myself, and might leave sometimes, so that I'm not just listening and not contributing anything at all, which just feels weird. He then left, and I went back to stalking. A few days later, though, he came around again and began talking to me about video games and such. Totally cool. However, after a moment, he quickly transitions into asking me why I'm cool with playing The Last of Us 2, which promotes transgender themes, and not talking about my own heritage at work. I didn't feel comfortable answering, so I repeated my policy and tried to change the subject, but then he proceeded to tell me that I'm not black for dodging the issue. I didn't say anything back, and he just walked away. I debated bringing it up to a manager, but decided to next time if it happened again. However, a few days later, I realized that my girl has stopped messaging me altogether whenever I ask her what time to bring her home, or for my schedule that she usually would send me. I decide to go to work on my off day to get my schedule myself, and when I see her, I come over and say hi like usual, but she ignores me and asks me to leave so that she can focus on the customer she is ringing. I was surprised, but left to get my schedule and decided to say hi again before I left. But the same thing happened. She ignored me, and when I asked what was up, she turned on her light to call for a supervisor and told them that I was bothering her. I was confused, so I decided to leave despite the supervisor recognizing me and realizing that something was up. I then call a friend outside who doesn't talk to her because he works in the back, but I knew him before she came on, and told him what was up, and he provided some insight that I was surprised to hear. He tells me that Tom told someone that I had scolded him for voicing his political beliefs, and someone else told my friend, a supervisor that he was close with, that he also went to HR and told them things about me that weren't true. Thus, it probably got back to my girl and some of our friends, and now they won't talk to me. And she hasn't for 2 weeks either. What should I do about this situation as a whole? It's been hard to focus at work, and my friends tell me that I should try to fight the accusation in hopes of proving to her that he lied. But some of my other friends tell me that I should forget her, if she's going to ignore me for something like that without requesting clarification or calling me to discuss a rumor. Honestly, I'm torn and just in need of some advice. Honestly, my advice is, don't date in your own backyard, and that girl is immature. Like, even if you scolded him, that's your opinion. You both have the right to voice your own opinion in any situation, so I'd say forget the girl and clear your name as an FU to everyone. Yes, clear your name always. Do not ever accept when people lie about you because it might come back later to bite you in the ass. Again. But yes, once your name is cleared, forget about the ex because if she didn't come to you to get your side, she's not worth it. If your girlfriend doesn't communicate with you, if she believes random people and doesn't come to you with questions, she's definitely not someone you can plan on having a future with. She's no good. Keep your nose down, do your job, and get out of there when you can. And this dude didn't cost you your girlfriend. She made a choice. He's an asshole, and she is too, but for different reasons. The boy Thunderdome suggests, why don't you voice what actually happened? I'm honestly debating it, asking some friends for advice too, and the best way to go about it. But I just wanted to get some advice here too, just to hear as many opinions as I can before making an educated decision from many perspectives. My advice is really, 1. Your girlfriend sounds like she trusts the word of people she doesn't know better than she knows you. 2. Security guard sounds like a tramp. 3. Don't let yourself become the victim because someone else doesn't respect your boundaries for work. And 4. Tell your manager and HR your side, your disdain for talking political matters at work, and whatever pertinent information that would make it so you weren't in the wrong. Because I agree. I think if we talk politics at work, it could unknowingly create animosity if someone else doesn't agree. And now on to the update. Some advice I received was to talk to HR myself, so I did, since I figured I had nothing to lose. I told them my side of the story, and they took notes and had me sign my statement at the end, promising to go over it. Before I get to the follow-up, my friends at the job continued to avoid me for the next 2-ish weeks, along with the security guard who started everything in the first place. When I went to HR though, I told them about how he would always approach me during his security walks, along with the specifics of what he said, and nothing else. No fluff, just facts, as I had a notepad ready beforehand. I also received advice to try and message my girlfriend after speaking to HR, along with telling her my side of the story in the same text. Although some people said that perhaps I had dodged a bullet, if she's the type of person to take the word of others as truth before even consulting me. In the days following my last post, I continued to talk to my buddy at the job, the only one who really talks to me anymore. He said that some people still think that I said a bunch of things disapproving the security guard's outspokenness about the protests, which has some of them labeling me as things that still aren't true. And it sucks. I didn't love this job, but I had a lot of decent acquaintances that made me look forward to coming sometimes, along with the occasional funny and memorable conversation. However, 2 weeks since my last post, and my girlfriend said nothing only until a few days ago. Checking the calendar, it's been about 17 days, and she sends me a random text at around 11 p.m.ish at night, asking if I want to talk, and nothing else. I didn't respond, and that is mostly because I want to write this update first and hear some opinions. Although my friend at work says she sounds unenthusiastic and unsympathetic, but I wanted to just get some more opinions here just to be sure. In regards to the follow-up with HR, they told me that they spoke with him and to tell them again if something similar comes up. It wasn't much, and they said they kept everything anonymous, but I feel like crap with all of my work friends not talking to me, and the security guard actually approached me in the back room one night. He asked me if I ratted him out, and I told him what if I did. He said he knew I did, and told me to not F with him if I knew what was good for me. He's older than me, probably in his 30s. Before leaving, he also called me white trash. I considered telling HR, but I figured, what was the point? I'll be leaving soon, but I need this job for a few months until my new one says I can start, and the toll it's taking has been real difficult, not to mention the uncertainty of the way my girlfriend's been treating me. I want to respond soon, but just wanted to write this first. I have a feeling that anyone who reads this will tell me to move on, and that's my gut feeling too. But I'm open to your honest opinions and gut punches if need be. I'd love to quit now, but with a pandemic and the scarcity in jobs, I can't really afford to do that. You need to go to HR and tell them what he did. That is harassment. Secondly, your girlfriend is worthless if she believes some random dude at work over her boyfriend. She's trash, and you're better off without her. A real partner would have had your back, or at least effing talk to you first before making up her mind. OP replies, I talked to HR once. They said they talked to him after taking my statement and told me to tell them again if anything similar happened. Would it be worth it to go back to them, considering nothing really happened the first time, although the first time wasn't over a threat? I'm leaning towards it, now that you mention it since the circumstances are different, but just wanted to ask for certain clarification. This is called retaliation and is a big effing deal. Any smart workplace will want this nipped in the bud as it opens them to lawsuits. Just to refresh you, guard kept engaging in topics you found uncomfortable after being told to stop, filed a false report against you, spread malicious gossip about you, and threatened you. This is a big deal. Report him. After reading many insightful comments, I will do for sure. Not really a confrontational person, as someone else was also able to point out, but I agree that it's necessary. Really appreciate you putting it into such an obvious and easy way to see. Always remember what HR told you. They asked you to contact them again if he does something for a reason. They have more experience with this situation than you, so please listen to what they say and talk to them. Regarding your girlfriend, I would advise you to talk to her. Call her and let her speak, at least to just get some closure or to end it officially. This limbo you're in with her will do you no good. And good luck. Commented after your update, she's not your girlfriend anymore, not the way she's been treating you. She's ghosting you and has not got the guts to break up with you. This is becoming a hostile workplace. Get out as soon as you can. We'll probably end up doing so, sooner rather than later. I have some money saved, although I would have preferred to stay with no drama, since my other job that I've been wanting to call me back finally did. But I have to wait a little bit until I can come in, since someone is transitioning out of the position. But I should be able to maintain myself for a while if I have to, and I'm leaning towards it more with each coming day. Could stick it out, but Walmart, to me personally, isn't a career job, and I don't think it's worth the additional stress. As someone who has worked at Walmart for 3 years before I quit, I just wanted to say that you should stick it out as long as you can and save as much money as you can, but do not be afraid to quit early, especially if they aren't helping resolve your issue with the security guard, and knowing the Walmart I was at, they probably won't do anything. If you quit early before starting your new job, just make sure you do a really thorough budget and make sure you'll be able to pay all your bills. Try to limit spending during this time of limbo between jobs as much as possible. Eat really cheap and only buy the necessities. If your quote-unquote girlfriend doesn't talk to you for 17 days because of some rumors, then it doesn't sound like she's your girlfriend. Best of luck to you. Posted by user throwaway246813572. Titled, My 29 male soon-to-be ex-husband seems to feel entitled to another chance with me. My husband and I have been together for almost 8 years, married for 2.5 of those. Last May, 2019, we separated seemingly overnight. He left me and our toddler and moved back to his hometown. There was never a solid reason given, just that he felt that we should have never gotten married. In July, he changed his tune and wanted to be a family again. He was still at his job in his hometown, so I decided I would ride it out at my job in a different city for a couple of months to build my resume, and then start looking for other jobs in his hometown. After 6 months of a brutal commute, taking care of our child during the week by myself, and driving to his hometown every weekend, interviewing, basically bending over backwards, I finally landed a great job in December. A week before I was to move into the new house we were buying together and start my new job, I found out he had been having an affair. He begged and pleaded for me to stay with him, said he'd break off all contact, and I foolishly agreed to give him another chance. 2 days later, while I was back in the different city and completing my last week of work at my old job, he unblocked her on everything and liked her pictures on Instagram. I was devastated. On top of that crap show, he kicked me out of the house we were supposed to move in together, and I had to find a new place to live 2 days before starting my new position. We have lived separately ever since. He has said and done so many hateful things in this time period, and said so many times that he wants a divorce, that I've lost count. Up until a month ago, he was still maintaining contact with her. I saw her car at his house, took pictures for the lawyers, etc., and he admitted he had been talking with her still. I stopped doing the pick me dance about a month ago and stopped reaching out to him besides to contact about our child. Now he's suddenly changed his tune and is desperate to get me back and will do anything. He has unfollowed her on everything, unliked all her pictures, tells me not to give up on our family. I've moved on. I'm not interested in pursuing another relationship with him. He's hurt me deeply, and I feel like I've been screwed over by him so many times that I've lost count. How can I tell him there isn't a chance without sounding like a completely heartless person? I still want to be able to maintain a strong co-parenting relationship with him, so I'm friendly to him. But he seems to take that as I want him back. I have relayed to him my feelings, but they fall on deaf ears. He says he will never stop trying to get our family back together and does not want a divorce. I do. Does anyone have any advice? And edited to add, just to show the kind of person he is, when I asked him about the reason for his sudden change of heart, he said it was because I seemed stronger. Ah, the irony. Honestly, a big thank you to the prick for yanking the rug under my feet not once, but twice, because I truly have realized how much better I can do and how I don't need anyone but myself to have a happy life. Second edit, seriously, thank you to everyone who has read my story and commented. You have no idea how much it's helping me to focus on myself and realize I need to stop considering the feelings of someone who had no consideration of mine. I only hope that anyone who is in a similar situation realizes that you can and you do move on. And I promise that you will feel like a 10,000-pound weight has been lifted off your back. And third edit, he's being served papers in the next 1 to 2 weeks. Guarantee the "I've changed" mask slips off. I hope I'm wrong, but I've learned all too well that my gut feelings are usually spot on. Hopefully I'll be back with an update in a few months with the good news that the split is official. And in the comments, Olivia Prestane says, "You are not heartless for being direct about your feelings, and even if you were, why would you be so careful about his feelings when he cares so little for yours? You need a lawyer to come up with a custody agreement. You do not need to be friendly with him to co-parent effectively. You just need to be cordial and not disparage him in front of your children. If OP is heartless, it's only because ex-husband smashed it over and over and over again. He only has himself to blame." And OP says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I needed to hear that. Talk to a lawyer and file for divorce. When he'll get the papers to sign, he will understand that you two are done. That's not heartless, that's taking care of you and your child. He caused too much pain. You have the right to feel free from his lies. Divorce and get a custody agreement. Getting divorce papers doesn't necessarily indicate to the other person that you are done. I've been divorced for 6 years, and my ex still refuses to believe it's valid, even though he was in the courtroom at the time that it was signed by the judge." Xtlo says, "My ex feels entitled to a relationship with me." Filed under, "How awesome for him." See also, "No is a complete answer." You're concerned about appearing like a heartless person to someone who not only acted heartlessly to you, but abandoned your child. Stop giving consideration and concern to people who have gone out of their way to give you neither. Here's what you tell him. Trust is one of the most important aspects of a relationship, and you have destroyed my ability to ever trust you. There can be no more chances because there is no more trust. If you want to prove yourself trustworthy, do it by being a good father, and prove it to our child because the only future relationship we have is co-parents. Thank you so much for this. I need nothing but brutal honesty right now. If you can't do it for you, do it for your kid. Teach them that kindness does not mean tolerating cruelty. Exactly this. Often parents think the key to good parenting is sacrifice, when in reality, the key to good parenting is modeling for your children how to survive. I listened to a great podcast a couple days ago that captures this sentiment perfectly. Your children do not need you to save them. Your children need to watch you save yourself. You've got this, OP. And now on to the update. Well, turns out my gut instincts were right. The entire time he was begging for another chance and promising this time would be different, eye roll, he was still sleeping with the affair partner and telling him he loved her and would do anything to make it work with her. It didn't even hurt me to find it out. I was that unsurprised. It just helped me stop feeling guilty, and I divorced his ass. I thank the universe every day that he is no longer connected to me in a romantic way. It feels like an enormous weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. Shortly after my original post, I met someone by chance at a wedding and fell in love. This person is everything my ex-husband was not. The kindness, compassion, and respect they show not just me, but to my daughter as well, is like something from a dream. I never knew love could be so easy. To anyone in a loveless marriage reading this, leave. Do the hard thing, especially if they have a pattern of leaving and returning and cheating, etc. Lord knows I was terrified to cut the cord. At one point in time, I was actually starting to feel bad for the guy because he was begging me every single day for another chance. He tried to convince me that getting a divorce would ruin my future, our daughter's future, that she would come from a broken family. But it was the exact opposite. It was broken already, and I fixed it. Once I made up my mind that divorce was the best option, I absolutely thrived. I learned independence. I found how to be happy on my own. I found happiness in a partner. Life has never been so sweet. The bad crap makes the good crap so much better. Thank you, Reddit, for the support of my original post. It helped me turn my graveyard into a garden. In the comments, Markee says, I wish all the other people coming to this Reddit to ask for advice on relationships like yours reads this and it encourages them to end it. We are all so proud of you. Out of childish curiosity, can I ask if the girl he was dating is still with him, or what kind of twisted version of the story between you two he tells her? I always find it so funny when they make up that their wife is evil, or when the affair girl breaks up with them. It's funny you asked that. She actually reached out to me and apologized. I didn't care one way or another. I view her as a blessing in a weird way. Had it not been for her, I probably would still be with him, walking on eggshells and trying to show love to a person who didn't deserve the time of day from me. During her apology, she asked if he still reached out to me. I said he was begging every day. She then sung like a bird and said he was still with her. From what I understand, I desperately tried hard not to know details because that would imply that I actually gave a crap. She broke it off with him. I was weirdly proud of her because she seemed pretty desperate for love. I felt something like pity for her. However, she got back with him. She reached out to me about a month ago and told me she found him on Bumble while he was over at her house. Some people never learn. Yes, I know it's weird that the woman who caused my divorce texts me from time to time, but like I said, I'm glad it happened, and she's likely the reason I'm so happy today, as bizarre as it sounds. And edit, I don't want to misconstrue things. She's not the reason I'm happy today, I am. I just credit her with a role in it, because had she not been in the picture, who knows where I'd be today. Did she know he was married at the time of getting with him? She did. She's definitely not a friend, but I don't have any hard feelings. I'm not investing mental energy into hating someone. It's exhausting and serves no purpose but for someone to live in your mind rent-free. Sponoog says, I'm happy it worked out for you. Now the real difficult work begins. Not letting his dishonesty and cheating make you eternally distrustful towards others. That is the after effect of infidelity that people don't talk about enough, and the real damage that a cheating partner can do to you. And OP replies, while you're absolutely right, I think that my ex-husband is a special case. There is something very disturbing about the extremely detailed lies and flawlessly executed performances he conducted to convince me he was deserving of a second chance. I'm in therapy, and my therapist labeled him a narcissistic sociopath. I'm not a bitter person, so I hope he finds what he's looking for one day, and God bless the girl who ends up with him. But it will never be me. This entire experience has proven to me that I don't need anyone but myself to be happy. Spouses and partners should just add to the happiness. They should never be relied on for the source of the happiness. Yes, it's a healthy realization. I just know how difficult it can be to properly trust or commit after such an experience, and it's something to be conscious of in the future. It sounds like you've got it covered. Oh, I'll be the first to tell you I've definitely carried over some trauma. After going through something like that, it's only natural to second guess myself from time to time. I'm thankful that my partner understands that. He is totally transparent. I've never asked him to be, he just is, and I have full faith he's the kind and caring person I perceive him to be. Posted by user ThrowRA Just F Me Up. Titled, I, 24 female, lost my crap at my neighbor, 30s male, and am unsure how to proceed. So, my partner, 24 male, and I moved into the place we live now in April of this year. We love our place, we love the landlord, literally the sweetest landlord I've ever had, and feel really fortunate to have a place to live and to stay in during a year filled with hardship and uncertainty for many. Since we moved in, we had a weird bit of ongoing beef with our next door neighbor, 30s male. We live in a duplex, and his unit shares several walls and ceilings/floors with ours, his floors, our ceilings. His primary form of communication with us has been to bang very hard on these shared walls and his floors/our ceiling in reaction to noises we make. At first we weren't certain the banging was directed towards us. My partner and I don't play loud music, have parties, or do anything that makes a huge amount of noise on a regular basis. We would hear the banging in the early morning, sometimes when we were using the bathroom. Bathroom door closing, sink turning on, toilet flushing, or at night when we were watching TV. The banging kept coincidentally happening when we made noise or were louder, but it was also often during activities we thought were really normal everyday activities. The banging slowly became more frequent, and got to be about 1 time a day at least, and our landlord also started sending us random messages like, please remember that quiet hours are after 10 p.m, and that your neighbors might hear more than you can should you use the washing machine past then. The day after we had done some laundry in our machine in our unit past 10 p.m. This kind of event happened more than once, so we figured that our neighbor was making more detailed complaints to the landlord. We felt bad, and my partner left our neighbor a note apologizing for any noise issues, and gave the neighbor his number so he could text us directly the next time he had a problem with the noise, since we weren't sure what noises he could hear in his apartment. He never texted or responded to the note. In August, the banging was at an all-time high when he banged on our shared wall 10+ times in one day for 4 days in a row. I kept a record of it after the first day because it was so disruptive and way worse than anything he had done before. The banging was spread throughout the day, not just during quiet hours, and seemed to be in reaction to things like cooking dinner, talking on the phone, talking to my partner while in the same room, showering, and flushing the toilet. I have PTSD from a previous domestic abuse environment, and the amount of banging was giving me intense anxiety. After 4 days of it, I couldn't take it anymore, and this time I wrote a note telling him we had no idea what the banging was about, and that if he had a problem with the noise, he needed to communicate more directly. I told him about my PTSD and how it was affecting me, and asked for him to talk to us instead of banging on the walls. I gave him my number and my partner's number again in case that he'd lost the previous note, and asked him again to text in the future when he had problems with the noise so we could try to be more accommodating. After that note, the banging stopped for a while. It has recently started back up, but at a very low frequency, and again, seemingly in reaction to daily activities, so much so that we are again unsure if it is directed at us or not. He has not texted us at all since that note, nor have we talked in person. My partner and I have definitely been on edge about this, as it's hard to tell if he's just had a bad day and is banging around, taking his anger out randomly, or if it's specifically in reaction to some noise we're making. It does seem like it's in reaction to noises we make in our apartment, but we don't want to assume. Today I was outside on our apartment balcony setting up some flooring panels. It was Thursday at 1 p.m. In order to set up the flooring panels, I needed to stomp the pieces into place. This was a fairly loud activity, but I figured since it was 1 PM, it wouldn't be an issue, and would be less loud indoors for others as it was being done outside. I had done a few panels when I heard my neighbor's sliding door open. He has a balcony above ours, and someone who sounds super pissed very quietly says, "Hey, would you stop that?" It was said so quietly that for a second, I wasn't sure if it was being said to me. He has a dog and cat, and the tone of his voice made me think of a pissed pet owner talking to their animal. I looked up to his balcony and didn't see him there. I'm about to call out and ask if he's talking to me, but before I can, I hear the sliding door closing shut already. I decide to keep going since I'm already halfway through, and also because I'm not certain he was talking to me. A few minutes later, he comes out onto his balcony again, but actually comes to the edge to make eye contact and talk directly to me. This is where I screwed up and lost my crap at him. He says, "Can you stop that? I'm working." "You talking to me, mate?" "Yes." "Well, I wouldn't know because you've been super fucking passive-aggressive to us and a huge effing a-hole. We tried to reach out to you multiple times, you have my number, you won't even try to communicate with me, and you're making this place an effing nightmare to live in. Well, can't you just do it after 5? "Yeah, sure, I'm happy to, whatever." Both of us left and went back inside. It was not my proudest moment, and I cried when I was telling him off. Since this happened, there has not been much noise or activity or anything eventful. My partner was at work when this happened, and when I told him, he was super upset and pissed too. We're planning on knocking on his door and asking him to talk face to face. Outdoors, outside the building, 6 feet apart with masks on, of course. Tomorrow, to address it. And I'm trying to figure out what to say and how to handle it. I don't like the idea of talking in person like this during the pandemic. I'm in the US, so it's really bad right now. But we've tried the written note method without any success, and the balcony interaction seems like it should definitely be addressed sooner rather than later. Looking for advice on how to approach the scenario. Thank you so much in advance for anything you would want to share. Now in the comments, Baker Miller Floyd says, "Literally just reading this post gives me insane anxiety. You should be keeping a record of this. Audio of the knocking, dates, photos of letters you leave him, etc., and complain to your landlord every single time he knocks." And OP replies, "We started doing that in August when it got crazy, and all the comments in this post are definitely making me think we should involve the landlord ASAP. I think I was naively hoping that it wouldn't come to this, since it's such a pain to be trying to build up a stack of receipts to use as legal protection in your own home, but it's starting to look like the way to go. Thank you for giving us your thoughts and advice." And Who Rescued Hugh replies, "You can download apps on your phone that register the decibels of noise. I would have it going when you do normal activities that cause him to knock, and register how loud the knocking is. There is a 99% chance your noise is completely normal, probably quiet, and the knocking is the real noise violation. This guy is a jerk, and frankly, you may have to turn it around on him. You can have his number, you can text and say, 'I would appreciate it if you did not bang on walls and ceilings at all, but during quiet hours is out of compliance with our landlord. If your noise violations continue, I will contact the landlord directly as well. Explain to your landlord that you are not causing excessive noise at all, and is sorry that they are mixed up in this, but that the banging and knocking is excessive and not in keeping with quiet hours. I would also say that the next time he asks you to stop making noise during the day, don't do it, as it sets a precedence, and the next thing you know, you'll be saying you won't flush the toilet between 8 PM and 8 AM, or whatever nutty requests he thinks you want to accommodate. I would reiterate, quiet hours are after 10 PM, not necessarily during your specific work hours. I apologize if this is an inconvenience, but I am following the guidelines set out by our landlord. When I'm able to accommodate additional requests by you, if reasonable and communicated respectfully and in a timely way, I will." Thank you so much. I really appreciate how specific this advice is. We actually do not have his number or any contact info, which is why we left him the notes with our numbers and asked him to text and call us. Since he's never done that, we have no way to contact him aside from in person or via notes on his door or through the landlord. Lex Wolf says, I'd be highly surprised if he even opens the door to you. Why aren't you complaining to the landlord? This kind of thing, neighbor disputes, appears on r/legal advice regularly. And OP replies, I didn't realize that this was bad enough to cross over into legal advice territory. My partner and I still thought that this could be an interpersonal issue that we could work out between us without getting the landlord involved. I wanted to say something to the landlord, but we thought that this wasn't an issue that he could or would necessarily do anything about, so we didn't plan on involving him yet. Is this something that we should consider getting legal advice for? I thought he was just being an asshole, but not necessarily doing something illegal. Yes, this person will likely continue to make your living situation uncomfortable and escalate his unreasonable behavior. You need to start documenting things. Each time he bangs on your walls, you need to try to get a recording of it, as well as sending a complaint to your landlord. A separate complaint for every single incident of the neighbor pounding on the walls. If he does it 10 times in a day, you submit 10 complaints. Anything else he does that feels confrontational to you, or any other time he tries to tell you what to do outside the rules of the apartment complex, coming out, telling you not to make noise in the middle of the afternoon like he did, submit a complaint. Keep a copy of every complaint that you send in, and the response. If you don't get a response, keep following up until you do. Yes, make sure you get a reply for every separate complaint. If this guy is going to make your life a pain in the ass, it can be a pain in the ass for the property manager too. That's the only thing that will get the property manager to do something about it. And OP replies, thank you for this advice. This has really gone in a different direction than I had originally thought. We were hoping for a friendlier and less legal resolution, but I'm starting to realize he may be more malignant than I wanted to believe. When I tell my landlord, what extent do you think I should share me yelling at my neighbor too? I don't want to hide that, but also not sure how to best let him know about it. He's not a babysitter. Make complaints about the condition of the habitation and noise levels, not about having told your neighbor what he needed to hear. And now to OP's update. First, wanted to say a sincere thank you for all your comments. I didn't expect this to get that many upvotes or comments, and I think this story resonated with a lot of people, especially while we're all spending so much time at home. I appreciated reading your experiences and advice. They really helped me feel less worried and scared about the situation. The update is that my partner and I decided to let my landlord know what's up. We like our landlord and feel like we have a good relationship with him, and the majority of the comments made us realize we needed to get him involved. We also decided to not approach our neighbor directly again at this point. We sent our landlord an email detailing the events with our neighbor from April until now, last night around 9. We also offered to have him measure and validate our noise levels if he wanted to, as we're confident we generate a very average amount of living noise. We had 2 friends who we are in a quarantine bubble with over for dinner yesterday who helped us draft the email and make it more concise and less emotional. We ate dinner, then watched TV, and they left at around 11:30 p.m. In a surprising turn of events, our neighbor finally texted my partner to complain about the noise that was made when we were saying bye to our friends and they were leaving. Which is fine. It was past 10 and they were on their way out anyways. But we finally have his phone number and a way to communicate that isn't indiscriminate wall banging. And this morning our landlord has already let us know that he read our message, that he was sorry about the problems that we've had with our neighbor, and that he wanted to talk with us some more this afternoon. I'm a little nervous but feel mostly good about it. A lot of your stories made me feel grateful for my crappy neighbor, as I don't think he's mentally ill or psychotic or shady or a creep. I think he just isn't very considerate or friendly, and a lot more bark than bite. I think if we had responded more firmly from the beginning, that he would have backed down a lot, and that us trying to be diplomatic or patient emboldened him to continue treating us rudely. During our time living here, the banging has been on and off inconsistently in response to different noises. For example, banging when the toilet flushes, but only for a few days in a row here and there. not every toilet flush every day. While our lifestyle hasn't changed much, so it seems to us like his noise sensitivity might be connected to his emotional state and not the building's acoustics. Either way, that is for our landlord to determine now. This has been an unpleasant but eye-opening experience. Thank you all again for sharing your thoughts. So what do you guys think of this one? Have you been in disputes similar to this one in the past, and what have you done to resolve these situations? I'd love to know any and all thoughts that you guys have about this one down in the comments below. As always, I encourage discussion that, whatever you can learn from people or whatever you can teach others down in the comments is always appreciated. Our next post is by user ThrowRA Gaming Group, titled, "What do I do about someone I can't stand joining my gaming group that I run? Mainly 30s folks." So I run a gaming group, mainly 30s folks, some 20s and some 40s, that has a few real-life friends in it. I am the leader and plan most of the things for the group. I do approximately 80% of the work in regards to the group in terms of time investment, recruitment, making materials, etc., but I have a small officer team, and we mainly vote on kicks and guild policy. We have recently had someone join called Jess that I can't stand. I could list you a million reasons, but it boils down to the fact that Jess is a very depressed and insecure person that is consistently looking for pity and any possible scrap of attention. My friends are far more empathetic than me, I guess, because I just can't stand the constant pleas for attention. If it's relevant, Jess and I are both women, as are over half of our guildmates. I brought my concerns about Jess up to the other guild leadership, and it's split. About a third agreed with me, a third don't seem to care, and the last third seem to like Jess and think it's my personal problem. So the guild officers know how little I enjoy Jess's company already. It's now been another couple of weeks, and Jess is now getting on to hang out in our voice chat. As such, I'm around less to avoid the interaction. It sucks, but it is what it is. I'm lucky in that Jess plays on our B team, which I don't run, but there's no reason she can't apply to our A team, which I do run. Sadly, it's at a point now where it's likely that Jess is going to apply to A team, and it's going to come to a head. I don't want to allow Jess into my group, which again, I lead, and I have no desire to play together. However, I am also a part of a team. However, again, I do 80% of the damn work for this group, so I feel like I should have a say. But I also feel bad about imposing my will. I can kick anyone as a guild leader on the group. What do I do here? Suck it up and run a game that allows Jess is not on the table, as I spend 20 to 30 hours a week with these folks, and I'm not willing to let it become a whiny nightmare for me. Do I step down over this, or pull rank and turf her without a vote? I can't think of a third option. And in the comments, PooPooPPDLX says, anything besides a guild vote is bullcrap and controlling. So, in your opinion, I should step down as I'm not willing to allow her in my group? Either step down or do the dick move and lose some friends. The thing about stepping down is, they don't have anyone else to lead or do the stuff that I'm currently doing. I'm currently off with pay, well, extremely light duties lol, so I have a lot of free time the others don't. I feel like I'm going to be stuck doing these runs with someone I hate, and that it's inevitable and I just don't want to. But I'm also afraid of being thought of as an asshole for stepping down and refusing to do all the stuff that I do just because I don't like someone. Like, I think my value to the group eclipses her by a large margin to our average guild member, so forced to pick, I think they would pick me to stay. Like, who else would lead A team? But I don't want this situation happening at all. Neither option is good. Posting this has made me realize how well and truly stuck I am. In that case, you've pretty much backed yourself into a corner. You could always try and talk to this girl one-on-one and see if you guys could find a compromise and explain what's happening and how her attitude is affecting certain people. Don't need to drop names or anything, but I don't know how comfortable either you or her would be with that. And user Blay says, as a former guildmaster myself, Don't let yourself get trapped in situations that make you miserable during most of your leisure time. Teams have a limited amount of spots. Just say that she isn't needed in your group. If your other officers complain, you can simply make damn well clear that A. You were doing most of the work, B. No one has to be forced to be with someone they can't stand, and you were there first. Your other option: do the runs with Jess. As soon as Jess gets whiny, you cut her off and redirect everyone's attention to the damn raid. Once Jess realizes she isn't getting what she wants, she will leave on her own. You don't even need to be rude about it. Jess, we're in the middle of a raid. Please save the personal talk for a different time and situation. And Failure Education says, this reminds me back when I was in marching band. I had this one girl that I very much disliked join the front ensemble, and we were going to be spending a lot of time together. My best strategy was just to ignore her. If you find someone who is annoying, it's easiest to ignore them, since it sounds like most problems come from listening to this person. I'm fairly young and not sure if that applies to this situation though, so my bit of advice is just ignore them and not let them ruin what you love. And OP replies, I currently have her on ignore. It's working the best it can. However, if she's allowed to join my A team, she's going to have to be unmuted and unignored by me in order to communicate with her for the group objectives. Well, in that case, it's probably best to just remove her from the situation if there is no other pacifist option. And now onto the update. So I posted a few days ago about someone who had joined my guild. I'm the guild leader that I couldn't stand, who was probably going to try to join my raid group. Well, it happened a couple days ago. She applied for my group. Her app was posted and I basically gave my honest opinion in the private discussion that I didn't want to play with her due to personality mismatch, and I found she had been very difficult to get along with due to her behavior. It turns out that the majority of the team that I play with feels the same way, and it came to light she had committed repeated rule violations that people were rug sweeping because they felt bad for her depression. Basically, she would get warned, but they wouldn't write it down because, I don't know, pity? She ended up being kicked via vote for breaking too many rules. Though it did not make me popular, there was also no backlash. It seemed like something that had to get done that nobody wanted to do. My lovely group is back to normal, and I am so relieved. I want to thank everyone that told me to not give my free time to someone that bothered me so intensely. Turns out my group thought so too, but they felt bad and were just trying to be nice. Thanks to your excellent advice, we are not stuck with someone who was a huge drag on our runs. And in the comments, Finally Looking says, I think this is a great example of leadership and making a hard decision. I've been in a professional setting where one person was very problematic. When I finally got the courage to bring it up to the whole group, everyone wholeheartedly agreed, and we made it a plan to deal with it. People often just need the opening. Had a guy at work that basically thought everyone else was an idiot. Every assignment was easy, and he never accepted any help. He was supposed to deliver stuff for me from QA, but got mad when his first stuff didn't pass and never delivered anything else. He was eventually let go. We're still finding weird crap he worked on that we have to redo. Worked with a similar guy. I thought I was the a-hole for a while because everyone seemed to like him and he was the clown. This was at a hospital. He would jump scare co-workers around corners. When you'd be on another floor and call down for help or with a question, he'd put on a fake voice and pretend that you had a wrong number. He had been married to a nurse in another department, and they were divorcing, which, hey, I get it. Hurts like hell. But he would emotionally dump on anyone he spoke to. One day, I finally had enough and I was like, John, please, I'm here to work. When I call, it's because I need help and I'm caring for a patient. What if that patient was you or your son? I've asked you repeatedly not to jump scare and grab me and you still do it. Why? And I feel for you. Work is work, not group therapy about your divorce. I need you to be professional, please. It makes it hard to get our job done here when you do these things. And everyone that was standing there was like, yeah man, the jump scare's gotta stop. And, dude, Just answer the phone like a normal person. She's right. These people had all defended and put up with him before. And Madame Kitsune says, I'm a deputy GM, and we had a similar situation with a player recently. They had issues, a lot of issues. And at first we tried to be as accommodating and inclusive as possible, even bending over backwards to talk through and explain why we couldn't tolerate some of their behavior when normally they'd be kicked without a second thought. It didn't work. Soon there wasn't a day that went by that we weren't firefighting the latest upset that they'd caused with someone else, or trying to calm them down because they'd decided another guild member was out to get them. In one case, because the other person didn't say hello to them when they logged on. People stopped coming on and staying online if they were about, and were avoiding going voice if they saw they were there. In the end, we had to go for a full come to Jesus talk, which went about as well as you'd expect, with excuses, blame shifting, accusations of discrimination, and outright threats against personal safety. They left us no choice but to kick and permaban them from ever coming back. The first and only time we've ever refused someone a second chance in all our years of playing. You handled this in exactly the right way. A good, happy corner of the gaming community can take years to develop, and can still be torn apart in weeks by letting the wrong person in. Congrats on dodging the kind of bullet that nearly blew a hole in us. Our first post is by user ThrowRA202096, titled, My 20 male, depressed girlfriend, 22 female, cheated on me, but I don't have enough strength to confront her again. Last month I got a feeling that something was wrong with my girlfriend, so I decided to snoop through her phone, because normally she writes her feelings in a notebook app. And I found messages between her and one of her friends, a male friend to be exact, where they sexted about how they would like to F each other. I just shut down and cried in the bathroom for about an hour because I wasn't expecting all those messages. A week after that, I decided to break up with her without mentioning the messages and just telling her that I didn't want to stay in the relationship. And immediately, she started to cry and beg me to stay because she couldn't live without me. She said this last part mostly because I'm basically the only one who really knows that she has depression, and the only person that is always there to help her calm down when she has urges of self-harm or a bad panic attack. I broke down and told her that I was sorry and that I wouldn't try to break up with her again. And that was a month ago. Just now today, I still have the feeling that the sexting is still continuing, but I just don't have the strength to try to break up with her because I just can't do it. Just thinking about her crying is enough to make myself cry, and I know that if I try again, I'm gonna fail again. Any suggestions or advice on what I could do next will be greatly appreciated. And in the comments, not me but you says, cut the ties bro, save yourself. The problem is, how do I do it? Because I know that if I try to break up with her again, I'm just gonna end up feeling bad for trying to and come back. Dude, you're not in the wrong. She cheated on you, and you have no responsibility to put up with it because she may feel bad or is depressed. Don't let her manipulate you any longer. Best thing to do is end it by being direct and amicable. Clean break. Explain that she cheated and that you are moving on. Don't let her manipulate you or come crawling back. Depression is no excuse for infidelity. Frederico the Alien says, you should never stay with anyone who can't live without you. It's not fair to anyone. Tell her to seek help and wish her luck, and move on for your own sake. But also, you should definitely mention why you're breaking up with her when you do it. It might make it easier and give you some closure. And OP replies, I know that she won't even try to seek help, because the one time in the past that I mentioned it, she told me that she dislikes the therapist because they're all a bunch of fakes. Fun fact, that's also not your problem. Everyone is their own person, free to take or leave the help available. You have to look out for number one. That's you. Normally, I feel a lot of these posts, all of Reddit basically says, dump them and move on. But this is cheating, plain and simple. Pull the ejection seat handle now. And it's not your responsibility. Tell her why you're leaving her and leave. Maybe give her family a heads up that you're breaking up, but you're worried about her and could they reach out? And Reddit user 51391225 says, your girlfriend is using and manipulating you. Mental health is not an excuse to abuse others in this way. The best thing you can do is understand that your girlfriend could cry a river, but if she truly couldn't live without you, she wouldn't risk losing you, especially not over something like sexting. Break up with her, and don't give her the chance to use her words and tears to manipulate you. If that means doing it over text, do it over text. Then block any means she may have of contacting you. I'm certain you will worry for her, but it's not your responsibility to sacrifice yourself for another person. Best of luck to you. I hope things work out and that you're able to do what's best for you. And now, small update. I didn't get to answers so soon. Thanks to everyone who answered. I'll try to break up with her tonight and I will give you an update on how that goes. Big update. Oh boy. Turns out I avoided a big bullet. So a few minutes after I posted the small update, I was planning to drive a little bit until I reached a small river 2 miles away, and then I would break up with her through text. But then she arrived home and tried to talk to me into going into a restaurant for a romantic date. I told her that I couldn't go because I was busy, and that slowly went from her telling me that there was nothing more important than this date, to her screaming and asking what could I be busy with, and even demanding that I needed to show her my phone. And I just lost her. I told her that I knew about the text with her friend, and that I knew that she was cheating on me, and I was going to break up with her. And she started crying, begging for forgiveness, and honestly, I was close to repeating the same mistake as before until she said, "Please forgive me. I promise that those texts were platonic, there was nothing real to them." I don't know why, but those words made me even angrier. I started to yell, and I told her that she needed to pick up her things and get out of the apartment right now. She then yelled at me that I couldn't just kick her out of her own house. I laughed, and reminded her that I was the one paying the bills for everything. After that, she told me that she was going to end herself tonight, and that it was going to be all my fault. I just told her, not my problem, then she left crying. Right after that, I called her parents and family to let them know what had happened. They were incredibly apologetic for what she had done, and after that, they told me that when she enters their house, they will punish her and force her to go to therapy. And that's it. For what I know, she hasn't gotten home yet, but as her father said, she always says that she's going to end herself over the smallest of things, and she never goes through with it. Don't worry. Thanks, Reddit. You all made me see the bullet in time for me to avoid getting more damaged. And our next post is by user Shiva M. Wasp, titled, "My crush, 23 female, just told me that she used to like me, 22 male, a while back. Is it too late to tell her now?" So we've been acquaintances for a few years, and became very good friends in the last 2 years or so. She has been my crush for as long as I can remember. But I never asked her out because initially she had a boyfriend, and even after her breakup, I just couldn't ever gather up courage to tell her that I liked her because she's a 9 and I'm a 5. Not our ages, lol. She recently, during one of our conversations, told me she used to like me, but thought I was into some other girl, which I probably was too, and then the topic changed. So, is it too late now to tell her about my feelings? Has the train left the station? And in the comments, Ermel20 says, "It's never too late, except she would be married by now. So do it. In best case, it works out. In the worst case, you know and can move on." And OP replies, "She isn't married, so I guess I'll do it. Really hope it doesn't mean the end of friendship because she gets me so well, and we have a lot of fun together. As long as you take the potential rejection well and can laugh about it, I think the friendship would be fine. Good luck." Desert Girl 93 says, "Nah, just send it. She told you, so the window is now open. I'll go for it. Comments have made me a little positive. Glad you did. She's saying it aloud because she wants you to know. I've missed out on many crushes because I ignored clear hints like this." And an old school VG nerd says, "Just curious, why does she still think you're into that other woman? Do you talk to or about that woman a lot? Is she someone you see often, even in passing?" In recent past, she was asking about that other girl a lot, and my answers could have led her to believe that I may be into her, now that I think of it. She didn't want you to have more options, so she pulled you closer. She wants you to be available. And now, on to OP's update. I told her that I liked her too, and she said she still thinks I'm into that other girl. I tried telling her that I'm not, but then I felt like she didn't want to have this conversation, as she was just saying that I hope we're fine and still can be friends. She wasn't a dick about it, but it really made me sad. I'm fine now, but all day for a few seconds, I was going in a bad mood. Posted by user TreeSapPanda. Titled, "Future mother-in-law wants me, 20 female, to kiss her ass." Now, before I start, I wanted to give a few personality traits. I am 20 female, have terrible social anxiety because I was grounded or not allowed to leave the house except for school, so I never learned how to function with people properly. It never helped that I got bullied, which drew me more into my own bubble. I don't usually talk to people unless necessary, and it takes a long while for me to warm up to someone. My fiancé, 23 male, is more social than me, but normally had to stay at home to watch his younger siblings. So he's a gamer, and while he does have friends, he normally stays home. I have been with my fiancé for 6 years. A year into the relationship, his mother asked him to move in with her because she needed help with his little brother. We were separated for 2.5 years, and it was tough, but we got through it. However, through that time, his mother kept telling him I'm cheating, I'm not worth it, he should leave me, etc., etc. Luckily, since he knows me, he knew I would never cheat and ignored her. After those couple years, his mum moved to another state. His stepdad is military, and he stayed where he currently is. He got an apartment for us, and we've lived together since. In the phone calls she has with him, she still effing berates me about every little thing. Here is the thing. He wants his mother and I to have a relationship, and she already decided she hated me before she met me. When she did meet me, and I wasn't outgoing and all over the place, it solidified her opinion. I sent her a message to attempt to start a relationship. This tramp called my fiancé and complained about how I wasn't proper enough. He forgot to mention she likes to be called ma'am. Here are some highlights of what she's like. 1. She told my fiancé she should kiss my ass because I gave birth to you. I'm the reason she's happy. 2. She told him I will never approve of her. 3. She watches the effing Kardashians. She loves drama. 4. She hates that I'm not social, even though her son isn't either. And 5. She told him that I'm the one who has to try to build a relationship with her, meaning it will just be ass-kissing and no relationship. My fiancé tells me I need to just kiss her ass because he had to do it with my family, which I won't deny, but they didn't expect him to grovel. He wants us to get along and says that I don't have to talk to her except on the holidays. I love him and I want to make him happy. Any advice on how and what I should say when I decide to call her? Even if it doesn't go over well, he can't say that I'm putting in zero effort. And quick edit, he's not a mama's boy. He does defend me, but she doesn't quit whining. And in the comments, May the Grouse says, quote, "My fiancé tells me that I need to just kiss her ass." End quote. And that's your problem. Your fiancé needs to step up and deal with this issue. Oh, OP's fiance is unfortunately entirely too eager to kiss his mummy's ass. Electric Hyena says, "Honey, grow an effing spine. He's absolutely not standing up for you. I would go scorched effing earth if my parents did any of the stuff you described to my husband. And frankly, the more you give in to this toxic family, the worse it's going to get. If this is how it is now, imagine how it's going to be if you get married and have kids. It's time to start drawing boundaries for both her and you. If that causes your relationship to fail, then it wasn't a good relationship. I would start with, I'm not going to kiss anyone's ass. If your mother wants to have a relationship with me, she can start by not treating me like crap, and it's completely ridiculous that you allow her to treat me and talk about me the way she does. If you aren't comfortable saying this, text it to him. If it causes the relationship to crumble, then it wasn't a great relationship to begin with." Wildly Uninteresting says, "You should avoid this relationship. His mum calls the shots. This will be life forever with him. Unless you want to be forever miserable." And OP replies, "He isn't the issue. His mum is. He isn't a mama's boy, he just loves her and wants the woman in his life to get along." No! Your fiancé is the problem here. He is permitting and enabling her behavior, and thus encouraging her. He is the only one with the power to fix this situation, and he's choosing not to do it. You and she don't just have different opinions. Your mother-in-law is clearly a crazy bear. He's choosing to placate her, and tells you to as well, rather than effing stand up to her and have the uncomfortable conversation that is required. His mum calls the shots, period. He is a mama's boy though, because anybody who allows their mother to bash their significant other has a problem telling their mother she is out of line. There are no boundaries. She can cross them over and over again with no repercussions. And Invisible Goat says, "My mum and paternal grandmother have a similar relationship. Unfortunately, all that putting up with it produced was a grandmother who was openly critical of everything my mother did when I was growing up, and a physical alteration at my christening, started by grandmother. Your fiancé needs to put his foot down. This is not sustainable." And now onto the update. Hello, I figured I would post an update as well as give a little more insight. My fiancé already has a strained relationship with her, so he rarely calls her. He knows she's a tramp and a hypocrite. He explained to me that she has that personality with all females, hence why no one likes her, but she can't fathom why. I spoke to my best friend and gave her a summary of the post. She agrees, and while she loves us, it won't end until he confronts his mother. I informed him about the post and told him that he is enabling her behavior. At first he was confused, but I explained to him that even though he tells her to stop, she bulldozes over him and continues to talk crap, which enables her as he doesn't put his foot down. He now recognizes this and apologized for his cowardice and trying to avoid the inevitable confrontation. Next, he told me that he realized he would never have a relationship after she said she's the queen, and your girlfriend needs to understand that. A conversation I wasn't there for. He knew then that his mother's narcissistic attitude will never change, and he wouldn't be able to change her view of me. He told me he doesn't expect us to have a relationship, and was remorseful that he worded himself poorly. We came to the middle ground that I don't have to talk to her or have a relationship with her. He will call her and draw the line. If she can't respect it, then he will go no contact. He chooses me over his mother. I love this man, and I'm able to talk to him about anything. So I'm happy we were able to reach a middle ground that we both agree on. Thank you all for the advice. And in the comments, Swamp Milkweed says, "Well, I gotta say I'm impressed. This is pretty much a complete 180 from your previous post, in which it didn't seem like you realized how much your fiancé was a big part of the problem. That's great you're able to talk to him and he saw that he was enabling her, and that he recognizes his mistakes. I hope that when, not if the time comes, He will go no contact. It's pretty certain that she won't respect any boundaries, see them as an insult, and likely have a meltdown. Hope he can block her everywhere, maintain that for as long as necessary, i.e. years, and that you two have an awesome life together. Edit to add, I would also have a conversation about the wedding. Is she invited? Please say no. Will he ever tell her when the wedding is happening? He probably shouldn't, and be aware of flying monkeys in the extended family. Google that term. If she is invited, I bet you $10 she shows up in a wedding dress. Mal de Tarso says, hey, I don't let my mother-in-law or my mother walk over my significant other. It's her and my wife's opinion matters more than them because she's who I live with and will spend the rest of my life with. I obviously don't let my significant other walk all over me. I don't take crap from anyone, but my wife is my queen. And Tech Singer says, this is the first test of your relationship, a tough one, and you both passed with flying colors. There are many more tests to come, especially after children come into the picture, and family gatherings and all that stuff. So, keep talking to each other and make sure you're both singing off the same song sheet. Most of all, enjoy each other to the fullest. Posted by user Throwaway52120. Titled, When I, 34 female, told my boyfriend who's 36 male, I frequently feel judged and scrutinized by him, he told me there are millions of things he doesn't say. Do I need to change my perspective, or are we incompatible? So, we're closing in on 2 years together. I'd say we spend 80% of our free time together. He still pays rent at his place, but pretty much lives here. As time goes on, I've noticed an increasing sense of uneasiness when I'm doing practically anything in his presence. Many times he will flat out correct something I'm doing that he sees as wrong. Sometimes it feels like he makes patronizing comments. A lot of it feels like I'm being constantly observed, and he's barely able to keep himself from saying something about how I'm doing something, or why I'm doing something this way versus that way. For a while, I saw a lot of this as him trying to be helpful. This general attitude isn't directed solely at me. I see him treat his family and friends similarly. He's someone who likes routine and seems to struggle uncertainty. Everything has a right and a wrong way in his eyes. I'm more of a, if it doesn't affect me, I don't care person. The problem I'm having is twofold. My self-esteem is taking a real hit, being constantly corrected, or feeling like I'm always doing everything wrong. I find myself judging myself about things that have never mattered to me. The several arguments and conversations about this have been extremely unsuccessful. When I try to point out specifically what is making me feel judged, he'll argue that I'm trying to twist everything into something negative, or he was just trying to help. He sees me telling him I don't like the way he's treating me as me telling him he's wrong, and we can never seem to get past this part. I continue trying to explain exactly why I'm feeling judged, almost trying to prove it to him, and he'll say almost anything to defend himself. A recent example, we were going to be passing his brother's house on our way to run an errand. I decided to throw some roses that were ready to be cut in a vase and leave them on the porch for his sister-in-law. Just a spontaneous, friendly gesture, nothing fancy. When I put them by the door, as we were preparing to leave, he said, "Wow, that one looks crazy." I barely acknowledged this, just kinda shrugged. He said, "Are you going to put a twine bow on this one?" I recently put an amateur arrangement together for his mum where I did. I said nah, and he said, "I think you wrapped the last one too many times. I think if you wrapped it twice, it would look better." His comments got in my head, and I ended up taking them back into the kitchen to rearrange them. He came into the kitchen and pointed out that one of the flowers was falling out. My eyes almost got stuck rolling. A couple hours later, when it was affecting my mood, I tried to talk to him about how that kind of interference into what I'm doing is what makes me feel like everything I'm doing is scrutinized. I learned he meant crazy as in good. He thought that I didn't like the bow on the last one, so he was just trying to help, and I am just trying to fight him and twist everything into being negative. What is sticking with me is the revelation that he sees issues with millions of things about me, but doesn't say anything. I'm worried about being with someone who sees millions of things I do as wrong. Am I viewing someone else's opinion as judgment? Am I seeing this clearly? Am I being too sensitive? A few other examples. Did you get a lot done today versus how was your day or did you have a good day? And he'll say things like, these are the pants you wear when you want to look homeless, referring to a pair of pants that had a few stains I was wearing around the house. Or, I like your hair best when you do big curls with the curling iron. Then I like it straight next. And this, while pointing to my naturally wavy and curly hair, is when my baby does nothing. I put shorts on out of the dryer that were a little damp around the waistband, and he says, oh no, these shorts are still wet. I don't want you to get sick or mess up your pH balance. What the God? Not sure what this even means. I realize I might sound paranoid, and at this point I probably am. I genuinely think there is something wrong with your partner, and the fact that it seems that you haven't, or feel like you can't bring that up with him, is a huge red flag. Also, hey guys, Markee here, giving an opinion on r/relationship advice. Hey, let's go. That pH balance thing really grossed me out. Like, how does one come to the conclusion that a bit of moisture on pants is gonna upset the ecosystem that much? Someone get this man out of r/bad women's anatomy and into the biology textbooks. Something, anything to disrupt his archaic mindset. Now, if I were you, I'd approach trusted friends and family and quote his actions and words to them and ask if they think that's normal. Because to me at least, they are scarily controlling and abusive. You ask the question in your title, do you need to change your perspective or are we incompatible? It would seem as though the latter of the two is the correct one in this situation. Tread carefully with this man from here on, as he doesn't seem neurotypical in the slightest. And if it's getting to the point where every action and word of yours is becoming micromanaged and scrutinized, then I don't think this is something worth saving. That's just my 2 cents though, and you've been awfully transparent here, so I'm inclined to believe this relationship is a sinking ship. Take from that what you will. In the comments, Coastal Shelves says, this sounds like an effing nightmare. How great would your life be if you didn't have someone around who was constantly criticizing everything you do? 100%. This sounds scarily similar to exact phrases my ex would say. He had me doubting my every move and thought by the end of our relationship. I feel so much more positive and effective these days. What are you getting from this relationship that you can't get from someone who treats you like an actual functioning adult? Can't upvote this enough. This type of toxicity will just destroy you in the long run. Mess up your pH balance. This, low-key, seems like he was saying you'll get a yeast infection from the wet shorts. Also, he's a judgmental a-hole. That's how I read it too, although the waistband is not generally located in the most likely area for that, but I don't think strict accuracy matters to him so long as he finds something to neg about. Not to mention, how would he know so much about her body that he felt the need to inform her about it? Just be glad I don't tell you all the ways I think you're broken. No, I'll save that until you've accepted this treatment as normal. Ding 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 ding, you nailed it. And Malik says, he's in the wrong, and you're becoming overly sensitive to his constantly low-grade casual unkindness, which is normal. You know how, if you already have a bruise, it hurts extra when someone knocks it? Even if they knock it very gently on accident. Maybe they didn't even realize the bruise was there, but still, it hurts extra. Your boyfriend's constant stream of critiques have left you bruised, all over. At this point, it doesn't matter if he meant crazy as in good. You're badly bruised all over. Every little tap hurts, no matter what his intention was. If he can acknowledge the dynamic that he has been a large part of creating, then you two could possibly, with a counselor, work out some healthier and more respectful communication patterns where you get to heal and feel secure and safe, and you can accept and he can offer comments or opinions without causing you pain. But that only works if he recognizes his behavior is a problem that is hurting you and the relationship. If he doesn't or won't, then you should walk away ASAP. Don't sign up for a lifetime of this. That was a brilliant analogy. Bravo. It's like bruising someone emotionally instead of physically. And now on to OP's update. First, thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. I remember exactly how confused and mentally exhausted I was at that point. Reading the responses and having my feelings validated by a bunch of internet strangers gave me the confidence to know that I wasn't being too sensitive. F that. It also got me out of a constant state of rumination about what was happening to me and why I felt so off and not myself, and led me to act. I told him I wanted space and that if we were both trying our best and our relationship felt like this, we had a huge problem. I also told him that at some point he had stopped treating me like his girlfriend and started treating me like a defective human being, and I was over it and wouldn't continue to invest my time and energy into someone who treated me this way. Those first few days I spent alone were like an effing vacation. I couldn't believe how amazing it felt to do simple, everyday things without his constant interference and judgment. At the same time, I did start to notice some of the things I was blaming him for being critical of me were really areas I was insecure and being critical of myself. I spent more time over the next few months investing in myself and improving certain areas of my life. Our relationship seemed to improve slightly over the next few months. The micromanaging and criticism really improved, or I thought they improved. He might have just changed tactics. I think he started triangulating and upping the ante with the innocent insults. I think I'd also gotten better at dealing with it and probably lowered the bar even more. In the fall, I had my first ever sciatica flare-up. It was agonizing pain almost constantly. It lasted 8 weeks and I was trying everything. Physical therapy, anti-inflammatories, biofreeze, ice, not moving, powering through the pain. He was over it all after a few weeks and started treating me like I was a lazy slob. I felt so scared and helpless about how much pain I was in and if it was ever going to get better or would I need surgery. The added stress of still trying to be a good partner was horrible. I'm not sure why this instance of his selfishness had more impact, but I felt something change inside of me in a profound way. Of course, when I tried to talk to him about it, it went very poorly. The argument ended when he mocked me for crying and asked me why I couldn't talk to him like a normal person. I can't remember when it started, but I began to have physical responses during any kind of conflict with him. Sort of like fight or flight, maybe. My hands start shaking. I start feeling overwhelmed and confused. My stomach is flipping, and eventually the tears come. This comment from my original post rings true. It seriously sounds like a low-key gateway to emotional abuse. I can't imagine his BS only starts and stops at just hacking away at OP's self-worth and then gaslighting her about what's happening. Those people get worse as the relationship goes on, not better. The BS certainly didn't stop there. There were so many instances during our relationship where I felt he had lied to me. There were constant interactions where my instincts told me that he was being inauthentic, or he was hiding something, or not giving me all the details. The addictions, the attention he gave women on social media, always needing someone to blame, and almost embarrassing inability to take accountability. I still feel pretty conflicted about what I did. I went through his phone. I started by looking for a couple specific times in the beginning of our relationship where my mind had flagged something as off or a lie, but I had no idea why. Like when he insisted we go drop a bottle of champagne off to a friend of his as a congratulations for getting a new job. At the time, I couldn't place what felt off about this. I looked at texts from this specific date, and now I know that we were really there to deliver cocaine. When I was able to confirm what my instincts told me were lies, it was off to the races. It was all pretty bad. He was on Tinder for the first 6 months we were together, Bumble for 9, and Plenty of Fish 11. All texts with other women deleted. Secret drug use, and it's hard to even remember everything, but I tried to just confirm what I had felt to be lies. There is definitely a ton of anger and sadness, but more than anything else, I felt relief. Everything my instincts have been telling me since the beginning have been accurate, and I've been fighting a losing battle against them. It felt freeing. Why have I continued this relationship in spite of my instinct for 2.5 years and endless stress and chaos? My hair has been thinning since the 3-month mark in our relationship. I've had brain fog and memory problems despite being known for my iron trap memory. Sleeping issues, weight fluctuations. My body has been physically rejecting this relationship. Somehow, I either couldn't admit that it was him, or I was really that out of it. I'm starting to try and unwind it all in therapy. I have had 3 sessions so far, and am scheduled weekly for the foreseeable future. What I have learned so far is I was taught to not trust my feelings as a child by my dad, who was very likely a narcissist. I'm really excited to work on my toxic patterns and behaviors in therapy and make the relationship I have with myself better and my priority. We have been living in separate bedrooms for a couple weeks. The initial confrontation was horrible, and I hurled some really rough insults and names at him. A few weeks ago, I was thinking that I would have a final discussion about why we were breaking up and the logistics of him moving out, etc. It still almost felt like I was going to have to convince him that this was good enough reason to break up. After a deadline for work is over in the next couple days, I'm going to tell him the relationship is over because I want it to be. And I do. I'm going to offer to pay for movers so I have an exact date he will be gone. I'm nervous about his reaction and scared of what he might say to hurt me, but I've never been more certain I'm making the right decision, so I know I'll be able to handle whatever happens. Again, thank you endlessly to anyone who took the time to comment on my original post or reached out. I felt seen and heard that day in a way that woke me up and nudged me to really start paying attention and stop turning everything inward. Oh, and one more thing. In my original post, I played dumb about what he was insinuating when commenting about the shorts with the wet waistbands. I was so paranoid at that time, I wanted to see if other people came to the same conclusion that I had. When I reread my post, that stuck out to me as sad. In the comments, Sedona says, I think you should have someone you trust present when you tell him it's over. Yup, this. Abusive and manipulative people are the most dangerous at the end of the relationship. But they won't be as toxic around you if they're being watched and judged by another person. OP, maybe ask a friend or family member if they're comfortable moving in for a spell. OP, this 1,000 times over. Leaving an abusive relationship is the most dangerous time for women. Just because he hasn't touched you yet, doesn't mean he won't. I'd also suggest making an exit strategy with your therapist. Just careful before I read this one. Trigger warning, murder, death, not good. Throwaway Bibby says, my best friend's husband snapped one night and brutally murdered her and her unborn child. We don't know why, but I think she told him she was done as he was abusive. Do not be alone with this man when you break up with him. Also, have a locksmith nearby to change the locks immediately after he is gone. Do you have a father or brothers who can be with you? I'm sorry for your loss. Unfortunately, I know the feeling. I hate to fearmonger, but abusive people need to be taken seriously. My best friend was murdered by her ex. She had broken up with him 3 weeks prior. He wasn't getting treatment for severe Lyme disease that was causing mental problems. He took his family's gun, ambushed her while she was walking her dog, and then drove off and killed himself. Reading to the end of the post where she says they're still together, 8 months after the last post, not gonna lie, my heart sank. She needs support to get safely away ASAP. I would want to move for a fresh start, if at all possible. I remember your original post. I'm so glad that you're resolved to get away from this man and begin to heal. I would be very cautious going forward. He has already shown us he's willing to lie, gaslight, and manipulate you. And abusers are most dangerous when they think they are losing their control. Tell some friends what's going on so you have backup if necessary. Think about storing your most important documents and possessions elsewhere until he's gone. Get a lock for your door that only you have the key to. Don't spend time alone with him. Posted by user Studio6T. Titled, My boyfriend, 27 male, refuses to talk about marriage or the future in general with me. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 8 years, since we were both 19 in college, and we moved in together about 2.5 years ago. Years ago, we would occasionally discuss getting married someday and having kids, and it seemed like we both wanted the same things in that regard. Recently, since we've been living together, every time I try to ask him anything about the future, even like planning how to get to our friend's wedding a month from now, he refuses to answer anything and just says he doesn't want to talk about it right now. I asked him a couple of weeks ago if he wanted to get married, and he just asked me the same question back, and when I said yes, he just went silent for a while, and then said he didn't want to talk about it right now. I feel like he's constantly shoving me away, and I'm feeling scared that now he's faced with the actual threat of commitment, his real feelings are showing, and that he was just lying to me before. I don't know what to do at this point and could use some advice. In the comments, Bad B Crow says, Okay, so when do you want to talk about it? Honey, if I can't plan for a future with you in it, I'm gonna have to start planning for a future without you. Is that what you want? OP replies, Thanks for the advice. I'm going to ask him to set up an exact time to talk about it and see what happens. You deserve an answer. I do warn you though, his avoidance may be a response in and of itself. He shouldn't be holding you in suspense, and more importantly, you shouldn't have to sit around waiting to know if there's a future or not. So much this. My ex would beat around the bush with me so much, it'd make me mad and sad that I never knew what the hell he was thinking. Had he not broken up with me for a different reason, I was going to have a walk date on when I was leaving had he not been able to give me an answer. It's possible that his feelings simply changed about the situation. Maybe he doesn't want to get married. I don't think it would be wise to give him an ultimatum. If you have different goals in life, then it's fine if you want to move on. Me personally, I don't see any point in marriage, but that's just my personal opinion. Everyone has different goals for themselves. In any case, I think you do have a right to know what he plans to do, especially if marriage is important to you. He needs to understand that. Just be careful how you gauge that response. All I'm saying is, don't give him an ultimatum unless you are prepared to stick to it. Personally, I don't think ultimatums are a good idea, but it's your call. It's your relationship, and you have every right to know where it's headed. If that is the case, he needs to tell her and stop putting off the uncomfortable conversation. If he can't tell her what his plans for the future are, she's going to have to start making her own without him. That's not an ultimatum, it's just the truth. Love Tulip says, I was in your shoes a few years ago. In my case, my ex kept avoiding the topic of kids and marriage. Until one day, he told me the truth and said he just never wanted either. He just wanted me to stay. We were together at that point for about 5 years. I left, you should too. Don't waste any more time. OP replies, I understand. I just feel like I need an answer like you got before I just leave. Then get that answer. There comes a point where no answer is an answer. Make this clear to him. Tell him that it's time for him to come clean about whatever feelings he's hiding. If he's not even willing to sit down with you and talk about your future, then he's not willing to do what any basic relationship needs to keep going. It already shows a disrespectful lack of care about you, which is never a good sign. And Consistent Garbage says, I agree that one day you'll find that you've moved on to someone who values you more and is excited to be with you, and you'll be very pleased. If you have to push him over these important things, you'll either continue to be hurt and disappointed, or he will marry you, and you will wonder somewhere in your head if he'd only married you now just because he was comfortable and didn't want to lose you and start over his life. I was with someone for 13 years, boyfriend and girlfriend for the first 10 years. He also would dismiss marriage talk. Then he told me he finds it antiquated. He did the same thing to me in the very beginning about putting a title of boyfriend and girlfriend on us. Long story short, I ended up leaving. I'm with someone who truly cherishes me now. Was I afraid? Yes. Did it hurt? Yes. But it was worth it. I'm pleased to hear that you have had this experience. I left my partner of 9 years last year, despite the fact we had bought a house together, because he refused to discuss marriage, and I felt that I had been held back by his refusal to move the relationship forwards. I'm still in the very early days, and still scared of the future, so it's lovely to hear a positive experience of somebody who left and it worked out for. And OP leaves an edit in their post. Edit? Thanks to everyone for the advice. I'm going to put my foot down tomorrow morning, before he's had time to get bogged down by anything from the day, and either get some clear answers, or get an agreed to specific time to discuss marriage and our future goals as a couple. Edit 2. I appreciate y'all trying to stand up for me, but I'd like it if you'd stop calling him an a-hole, etc. He's a genuinely lovely guy, and we get along great as a team and have for the majority of our relationship. It's just this area where there's a big problem that I'm trying to get sorted out. Thanks. And now on to the update. Hi guys. I just wanted to thank you all for your love, advice, and support regarding my last post. I woke up yesterday morning and told my boyfriend that either we're going to have a serious adult conversation about the future right now, or you can pick a time later today. After a bit of back and forth, he picked 5 p.m. At 5, we sat down on the couch and discussed each of our goals regarding marriage, children, employment, etc. We also discussed concerns that each of us had. I started out with mine, and then I think that helped him voice his concerns, the largest of which involved my family. They're complicated. I think me forcing the scheduling of a time to talk helped him open up about his concerns. No, I don't have a ring on my finger yet, but my goal was to get him to open up about why he didn't want to discuss it. We ended up talking for about 2 hours, and I made clear my timeline of requirements, and he agreed. I feel like we're in a good place now. Thanks again for all the love and support. Edit, for everyone saying that this doesn't change anything and I should have broken up with him, and giving an ultimatum is going to backfire, etc. I didn't give him an ultimatum. I never threatened to break up with him. I told him what I needed from him, and we talked through a lot of questions and concerns from both sides. It wasn't a one-way conversation like you all seem to have assumed. Thank you to everyone for your continued support. I hope those of you who feel like relationship issues can never be resolved find happiness in your own lives. Edit 2. For everyone saying that my timeline requirements sound controlling, you must not be women who want to have children. Sorry, but I'd like to have kids, and unfortunately, my clock is ticking. I think wanting to be married by the time I'm 30 is pretty reasonable. For everyone saying he's just telling me what I want to hear and will keep pushing me off, I understand your concern, but the conversation we had leads me to believe otherwise. I know that sounds fishy, but without relaying word for word what was said, I don't really know how to explain it. Again, thank you all for your comments. You're really helping me think through everything from every angle. In the comments, friend Lily says, "This is a great update, and I'm glad you two were able to talk. But coming from a person who's been married for 10 years, and we still have communication hiccups, please work on communication before you get married. Communication in any relationship at any time is hard, and you cannot have a healthy relationship when neither of you are getting your needs met or when you're not telling each other your concerns without pulling teeth." Agreed. My husband and I are solid, but when we had some unexpected life-changing events occur, he was transferred out of state, I can't join him for a while, I got us into marriage counseling so we could work on communication. Divorce was never on the table, but we were arguing nearly every time we were together. Just the few sessions we attended helped us get back on track. Communication is a never-ending cycle. I recommend to anyone in a long-term relationship to keep counseling as an option for when things get tough. Sometimes it takes a new perspective to see what your significant other needs, and vice versa. Hell, go to counseling before times get tough. No reason to keep it as a last-dish resort. Crap Happens So says, "This is what I started to do with my husband. We would pick a day and a time for when we were going to discuss important topics or decisions. My husband did not like to immediately start talking about big life decisions in the moment, but knowing that there is a discussion that was going to happen allowed him to think about it beforehand. I'm so happy I found this. I'm the kind of person who gets emotional and needs to talk about things in the moment, but my partner often feels like I bring big things up out of the blue and it really stresses him out. I want to try to approach and see if it makes these kinds of discussions easier for the both of us." And Pry D2 says, "Wow, that's actually something that put a smile on my face at the end. The way it started, it sounded like things were going to turn sour at any point onwards. I'm happy for both of you. That's actually something to look forward to. It's a good thing that you were able to come up with that hard topic that usually puts people on the verge of tears and discomfort, and to come out of it unscathed with a smile in your heart. Well, that's a great thing. Now your future is ever brighter. I'm deep down happy for you and your boyfriend. Make the best of it." And OP replies, "Thank you so much." I'm really glad that this had a peaceful resolution here. I don't know what to say besides that. It may not be the resolution that a lot of people were expecting, as OP said in their 2 edits there, but sometimes relationships resolve issues like this. And sure, some people may not be happy with that, but it's not their relationship to comment on. They don't understand the dynamics of this relationship, neither do we. It's the 2 people in this relationship that understand it fully and know how to bridge the gap here, and I'm glad they finally did. If it continues to go well in the future, then good on them. I'm going to give them a thumbs up for the way they've handled it so far, and I hope they continue to work on their issues and find a meaningful outcome, whether that be getting married or just coming to an agreement of not getting married. Who knows what the future holds for them. And our next post is by user Arrogant Dante, titled 32 Male. How can I convince my family I'm reformed and no longer a horrible person? They still think of me as nothing more than a common crook. They're valid in their reasoning, to be fair. I did 11 years in a state penitentiary. I was granted parole, and I'm genuinely trying to be a better person, but I have nothing. Nobody. My brother is the sole person who contacts me, and even then, it's sometimes to give some money. My family has completely cut me off. I don't know how to convince them I'm a changed man. I know what horrible things I did, and I reformed. I just want my mum's love again. I miss her. I miss having a family." And in the comments, Victor Patterson says, "You can do this by doing and not telling them and trying to convince them. It will take a lot of time and effort. Bingo." F This Crap 204 says, "I think it depends on your crime. Some things can be forgiven, some cannot. Armed robbery. I was a punk of a kid. I and a friend held up a liquor store thinking we'd get rich. I got 15 years but was granted parole at 10. I hate myself for doing it. I ruined my life over something so stupid." It's not easy to earn that trust back. Anyone can be good for a day or a week. You need to be an example of what it means to live life as a reformed man. It may take years to gain the respect back from those who mean the most to you. If you do the right thing day after day, you'll succeed. You know what you're aiming at. Now take the steps to get there. Remind yourself of the big picture and your long-term goals. You have to wake up every day and live a good life. Verbally apologize to your family, but also make a living amends. Show them you've changed. It'll take time. Armed robbery is not an unforgivable offense. Like many others have said, your words will mean little. Start living your life and doing good, but do it for you. In time, your brother will report the good and difference he's witnessed or noticed, or maybe someone else close will hear or see it for themselves. Sending cards on important occasions will sometimes show your efforts without the attached expectation of a reply from your family. It is likely hurting your mother as much as it's hurting you to be apart and not in each other's lives. Back to the original above, live your life for you. Do well for yourself and be the change you need in your life. I hope the best outcome for you. I'm rooting for you. It'll take some time, but they will recognize. You must stay on your path to redemption and let your actions speak for you rather than your words. OP replies, yeah, it's just hard. I want nothing more than to be treated like a person. I refuse to go back to hell. It's just so lonely. I work and sleep and that's it. I lack the ability to make friends. Do you game? This may sound kind of dorky, but especially in the pandemic times, online gaming and Discord chats have been a great social circle and a way to meet new people for me. Wishing you better times, friend. I do, but I have a laptop that can do light gaming. But most of my stuff is from pre-prison, so it sucks. I can't have a TV or game console in my halfway home. They don't have a room or allow it. Hopping on this comment thread, I second Discord servers. I met my 2 closest friends on a fandom server for a book. Another friend met their partner in the same server. I'm a deeply insecure, awkward person in real life. Online helped me open up a lot and gives me a clean slate with anonymity. It allowed me to be less worried about people judging me. Books, movies, series, or just making friends servers. There's so many out there. No commitment to invest. I server hopped a lot until I found my people. Best of luck, OP. And someone else says, it's going to take 11 years of honest hard work and becoming a contributing member of your community to put this more or less behind you. It's an ugly truism that choices have consequences. I have no idea why you served 11 years or what you may have done to hurt your family, but it's on you to fix this. Good luck. You are 100% right. I made an active choice and suffered. I did my time, but the way I'm treated is just hard. No point in being reformed if you're still forever branded a criminal. With a felony on my record, I have very little choice of housing or work. It's just frustrating because if I make a single mistake, I'm 100% screwed and back in prison. Dude, your attitude sucks. You haven't done your time, you've been released early. But you're a criminal. You shouldn't have to hide from that. I'm a recovering alcoholic. No way I don't like telling people that, because I'm recovering. But it's part of who I am. I can't just wish it away. I am an alcoholic still. I just happen to be in recovery now. You're a criminal. You're just a reformed criminal now. And yeah, having to start again sucks, but that's the way it is. All sorts of people have to start over from scratch following business failure, bankruptcy, divorce, illness, or death of a loved one, addiction, the list goes on. Does it suck? Sure. What's the alternative? If you give up, nothing will ever get better. And no, again, you've made yourself out to be the victim. You got let out of jail a whole 5 effing years early. Yay! Rejoice that you've been given a shot at freedom, and all you have to do is stick to a few simple rules. Someone had faith in you that you could turn your life around and wouldn't squander the opportunity. Prove them right, and start thinking of what you have rather than what you don't have. You're healthy, you have your freedom, you have a roof over your head, food in the refrigerator, and money in your pockets. Hopefully you have, or you'll soon have, a paying job. I know people who would kill for just basic things like that. You are so much luckier than some, and things could be so much worse. Rather than thinking about what you don't have and how much life sucks and your family are ignoring you, focus instead on giving back. You could start with restorative justice and see if the store owner you robbed would be willing to meet with you and try to reconcile. In addition, find a charity that you can help. A lot won't want a felon, but a lot of charities also participate in community service and are set up to take people who have been convicted. Talk to your parole officer about it and see if he knows any charities looking for help who would be willing to trust you. Some animal charities even use prisoners still in jail to train their puppies, service dogs, or to rehabilitate stray dogs for rehoming. They are heavily screened to make sure they're safe to work with the dogs, obviously, and the programs work wonders on both the dogs and the prisoners. Maybe try something there. Even just walking dogs at an animal charity. That's the boring minutia most people don't want to do, but it's so rewarding. I've done it myself. Hell, offer to go to large animal sanctuaries. I can guarantee they have massive bales of hay and sacks of feed that no one wants to move. And you get to pet the horses or donkeys or cattle, etc. on your breaks. Horses love polo mints, just a tip. Hell, most riding schools survive on a shoestring budget because caring for horses is bloody expensive. They often have volunteers who work a full day in exchange for a 30 or hour lesson. You don't have to take the lesson. And hell, you could learn new skills and maybe find a new career. Giving back is really rewarding. Just knowing you helped people or animals who needed it. You made their lives just a little bit better. After my mother lost her business in a recession, she was charged for some financial wheeling dealings as she tried to keep it afloat and pled guilty for a light sentence. She did her community service with a charity that helped learning disabled people, teaching them joinery and other skills so they could find employment elsewhere. Her crime was non-violent, and she had no direct contact with the special needs people, but that charity was obviously set up to take people who had been convicted of crimes. Oddly, for someone convicted of a financial crime, they did let her collect the collection boxes. I remember helping her count the funds. We didn't keep any. Anyway, that's besides the point. She lost her business, went bankrupt, lost her husband, lost her house, faced criminal charges, and had a conviction on her record, all in the space of about 18 months. That hit her hard. It took her years to fully recover, but she began a new business under my adult sister's name almost immediately and began to earn a living again. Because what's the alternative? Roll over and die? Live the rest of her life on benefits? My father's business also went down in the same recession, the big 80s one. It took him 20 years to find a new job. Day after day, he was down at the job center. Every month there was a new course for him to try and improve his chances, and he actually relished going to them. He applied for job after job and got rejection after rejection, but he never gave up. Finally, 20 years later, a company gave him a chance and he retrained in health and safety at about 60 years of age. He bloody loved it. He's 75 now and still works 2 days a week with a 4-hour round commute to London each day, just because he likes the job. He doesn't have to, he has a pension, but he wants to. There's not much I can say, I'm proud of my dad, but that indomitable spirit is something I really admire. Don't give up, keep plodding along, one foot in front of the other, and one day, you'll look back and realize you've climbed a mountain. Sure, it was hard work, but you effing did it. No one did it for you. And when you're feeling sorry for yourself, remember what you have, like the things I listed above, rather than what you don't have. It's hard to be sad when you're feeling grateful. Every time you think, I can't do this because it violates my parole, immediately follow that thought with, but I could still be in jail, and I'd much rather be free and not doing X than be sitting in a jail cell. I wish you good luck. And this is where I wanted to end the video at because I know what's coming. But we have to live in reality and we have to face what happens in reality sometimes. I really, really, really appreciate that long story from this comment, and I love comments like this because It just makes me feel better, and it makes me want to work harder in life. And it makes me appreciate the things that I do have, and to, look at the bigger picture, and look at the things I do have and not take them for granted. But I can't do you guys that disservice, and I do have to read the update. If you want to leave on a good note, you're welcome to click off the video now. And on to the update. My brother got my mum to sit down with me. Long story is I poured my heart out to her, acknowledging I had failed her and everyone. I desired to change and had steps to reform. She was unmoved. She said 3 words, "You're not forgiven." Before she left, she said what I did was something that cannot ever be forgiven. She spent years trying to convince herself I was not the thug people said I was. She bent over backwards defending me in front of my father. When I got arrested, a part of her died. She hasn't been the same since. Looking at me is just too painful now. She can't forgive me. She can't find it in her heart to ever forgive me. She wants no further relationship with me and wants me to cease all contact with her, or else she will go to the police. That was that. My brother drove me back home. I just sat in silence while he tells me she lost a lot of passion in her life when I got put away. He'll keep sending me money because he owes me for the amount of times I protected him, but we aren't family. He can't forgive me and wants nothing to do with me. He hopes, he prays I can keep my vow to be a better person. He has his doubts, but he has some hope. I expect this, but it's still crushing. In the comments, Berthel Pup says, "Didn't you get counseling before you were released that pretty much went over this? They should have impressed on you that nobody owes you forgiveness and that you made victims of more than your victims. The people closest to you were victimized by your crime. This relationship may or may not be repairable, but the only way there is any chance is by living your life right. Not for anyone or anything, just live right. Your actions over the years are the only thing that can convince anyone." And OP replies, "Nope, I went to AA meetings since I had a drinking problem beforehand. And I understand, but I have nobody, nothing. I screwed up, did my time, but still have nothing. My job opportunities are limited. People want nothing to do with me, and if I make any sort of mistake, I'm screwed. It's depressing because I thought things in my life would be better out of prison. It's not gotten better. If anything, I feel so empty inside now. No matter what I do, I will always be a piece of crap felon. Society will never forgive me." Well, sorry. Or correction system is really crap in most places. They didn't set you up to succeed on the outside. You have a decent PO? You could ask them for some ideas on where you can get transition resources. And look, I'm on your side here because I believe you did your time so your debt is paid. But I'm going to have to ask you why you think you'd have anything right now. Your life just got put on pause for 10 years. You need to get to work if you want to have anyone or anything. It's a major life change. You basically grew into an adult in prison, and you've never lived as an adult outside. It's not surprising that this is hard. It's supposed to be hard. That's normal. And there are plenty of felons that are doing just fine after putting in the work and the time to become a part of society again after release. I get how you're feeling and why you would say this, but it's not true, and I think you already know that. OP, I think you also need to realize that your past isn't just about you anymore. The law may say that you've served your time, but you've permanently ruined your family's reputation. People around town will label your mom as the woman whose son went to prison, etc. It'll be used as excuse to not trust her because she might be enabling you. She might be excluded from events out of fear that you'll show up. Your mom is cutting you off to save herself. It might seem selfish, but it's a survival technique after such betrayal, and it's nowhere near as selfish as your actions. You can only change your public image through hard work over time. It won't happen overnight, and not everyone will let go of your past. You need to accept that they have the right to be hurt and not forgive you. G'day there guys, and that's the end of today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it and were entertained by today's bloody good content. As always, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your beautiful faces and names will be up on screen right now. Haven't forgot about you guys, sorry I was taking a little break there. So yeah, if you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. If you want to be on this screen, there's links down to the description below where you can sign up and help support the channel and all future projects that I'm going to be doing on this one. With all that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you.